Hello and welcome to episode 2 of 7 Doc, 7 Days of Chaos, the absolutely chaotic map which had 147 players to start with. There are now significantly fewer than 147 players left. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
Who is playing as Constantinople over here and has managed to get to 2 dots. Which may not sound like a lot, but that is an achievement and a half in a Chaos game, right?
That's the most important part of the game, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I am in Feldkirch. I am still on one supply centre, and my alliance has just been stabbed by one of its members, Kragujevac, who now has 3 units around my centre. This is really not looking good for me. But we will start with Ezio's side of things because, well, he's good. His is certainly more promising, right?
Yeah. Because I also have a neighbor who stabbed the Alliance, except unlike your Alliance, which I think had 4 people in it, and when he stabbed, he is now as big as the rest of the Alliance combined, including these people, Timmy, who has a fleet that can't do anything, and Bugas, who has a fleet who can't do anything.
Yep.
So, whereas you're completely isolated with no friends, I have lots of friends. I have a friend in Chicken who's going to help me out. I have another fleet in Storm Basin that's going to help me out, and both of the units in Carmelon are going to help me out.
Yeah,
So,
notably, the Camelot units aren't your alliance, right? They're Spiral.
no,
But,
but they're my friends.
yeah. And I think you've discussed in the last episode that your alliance has a no non-Turks in Turkey clause, which means you're going to let them help you temporarily to get San Liefa, and then you're going to kick them right back out again, right? That's the plan?
Yes, that is my plan. The second part is, of course, very secret, and surely nobody could see this coming or would expect me to do it. Surely. But yeah, because the reason why is Syria is only at 1 dot right now, and so naturally my assumption is that Syria is going to want to get ADAP, and not me, and so that'd be unfortunate. Um, I think actually that's actually the main negotiation of this phase is I ask Syria, hey, you want to let me take ADAP? And they just say yes.
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess sometimes it's just about asking, right?
Yeah. Hey, would you support me in? And then they say sure. And easy negotiation. That was it.
Did
That
no
was the
one, like,
cleanest.
on this side of you go, wait, Ezio's getting to 3, I should get to 2, so I should take fire back now?
Um, I don't fully remember. I think this exact phase, actually, people didn't make too much noise about it. I don't think people noticed, honestly, Captain Meme, when I sent this thing, because it was just like a one-liner to Syria, just, hey, want to do it? They said yes, and I knew that once people saw it, they were going to make a lot of noise, and so I just shut up. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, right. You don't want to call attention to something, even though it's technically a public press game. People aren't around all the time. They don't see everything. They're not looking at all of the press everywhere.
except Varna.
And so, yeah, yeah. But even Varna didn't notice everything that was relevant. I
Oh,
think. Point is that by being friends with Varna, right, helping them get a dot that they want to have, means that they're not going to call me out on stuff unless they want to get into a fight, which would be not great for them probably. And just there's no reason for me to bring it up again. Once I've got the answer that I want, just leave it. Don't touch it. Um, but yeah. So this phase, I just left it. I just said, "Hey, let me take that up," and then Siri was like, "Sure," and I'm like, "Okay, sweet."
yeah. I mean, this
And
is
then you,
something that you can't, like, we can't really get across as well in this kind of commentary video because we don't look at the press, and if we did look at the press, this thing would take all day, right? But there is just such a high volume of press from everyone in that chat. I'm surprised anyone can find what anyone is talking about. The main thing is there are like 10 or 12 different channels. I don't remember how many exactly. So you could generally get away with just reading the one that your alliance was in and maybe the one that your enemies use, which was what
yeah,
I
I think
did
there were
primarily.
4 different ones that had 4 different chats in them. I think there were 16 at the start.
Right. Yes. Um, so it's actually a really good idea sometimes to just make a deal in a one sentence thing and then just leave it and never talk about it again, and then just hope that people miss it, which is exactly what Ezio did there. So, yeah. Was there anything else in your theatre there, or should I go over to talking about mine?
Other notable things, there was that stab in Grouse that happened,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And so people in the eastern part of the Alliance are working together to clean them up and make sure that nothing bad happens. And I forget exactly the moves that get sorted out, but they figure out some way to guarantee that Grouse goes down this year, I think. Which notably looks like a little bit of a tough problem because like if Grouse gets up into Triangle Basin, then there's a lot of guesswork to happen. I didn't look too closely at it. There was a stabber on the other side of the alliance, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see how that
Um,
turns out in the moves, I guess.
yeah, if we look up at Russia, um, we can look at these stuff with the moves, but essentially, like Rostov, who's now in Rostov, or is this Rostov or Omsk?
This one is Omsk, actually,
Yeah,
that's in both of
this is
this. This one
Omsk.
over here is Rostov.
Sure, yeah, Rostov's the red one.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. They have worked some stuff out. I forget exactly what deal, but they've been gambling and doing all sorts of nonsense. The main thing is that they are working together to try to push up into Russia. And I think the army in Ufa, that's a Crescent army, I believe they are on side with us.
Yes. Um,
So, yeah, progress is being made. And then also, there's an army in Rus, a fleet from Rus in the Russian Channel, and I think they're going to help us with Devil's. This is further up in Russia, up near Devil's Petersburg. I
oh,
think
right,
we've
yes.
taken like West Aegean and East Aegean by this point, and so I think we're gonna start pushing into Russia now, like explicitly.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, but I'm not paying enough attention to this area yet, so I don't yell at them and force them to convoy an army, and so I'm pretty sure they agree to take it with a fleet, and then everything sucks.
Fair enough. I do remember the UFA part because Crescent was very, like, well integrated with GTFO. They are, of course, in my alliance in OFS, but they do want to be working together with GTFO to push up into Warsaw. Technically, we were also working with this player here, who is actually UFA,
Samson?
who is now
Oh, that's
migrated.
Ufa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But now that the whole situation over here has happened, right? We're still. So the way we dealt with it was that we decided to stick together as an alliance anyway. I went ahead and basically said, oh, I don't blame you for taking Steyer's dot, which was what Kragujevec did, or for going for Timisoara. We need to keep working together because, of course, I have to do that. Otherwise, I immediately die. Right? There is no way that I survive from this position if I'm not friends with Crag. And I did that just before the Spiral people started offering Crag deals, going, "Hey, yeah, you can work with us, and we'll put you in here, and then we can work together from there." Right? And Crag actually took my deal instead, right, of continuing to work with me because he did not trust that Sankt Polten wouldn't just come in and attack him afterwards with the rest of Spiral while he was busy fighting the remnants of us. So we have managed to keep OFS together, kind of, but it's very much Timisoara's fleet is obviously here, so they don't have any say in this. Bugas has a fleet, so can't do anything about this either. Crescent has this fleet, which potentially could do something about it, but their interests are primarily over here now as well. So these three players are all sort of just like, I don't really trust Crag, but, whatever. If he leaves my dot alone, we'll carry on like this. Whereas for me, it is actually just life and death, and I have to be saying this stuff. So, yeah, OFS technically still exists at this point, even though we are more or less vassals of Crag in the current situation. And that is how it continues to be. I go ahead and I go, I'll help you, Crag, against Spiral. Let's push this Steyr army forward, do stuff like this. And we had been working with this UFA player beforehand, But now Timisoara gets really worried about their centre, very understandably, and asks Breggans for support in here, I think. It might be this turn, it might be next turn, but Ufa essentially gets kicked out of the alliance again in favour of the person who was there at the start, right? We were, of course, working quite closely with all of these Australian players. So, yes, that about sums up where we were at. Shall I go ahead and show some moves?
Yeah, let's look at some moves.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to talk, if we remember anything about France or Fire, we can look at that. But I don't remember anything, so
I remember almost nothing about France at this point.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they're in complete chaos. I think there's one specific dominant alliance called the League Nord, which is most of these northern players, and then the rest of France is just in complete chaos and shattered. And you can see the Italians are moving in and are trying to take their dots, right, and take advantage of the chaos here. Okay, so do you want to talk about your region first, then? Here.
Yeah. So, look, I get into ADAP. And this causes everyone to get really pissed. Everyone is incredibly annoyed at me now for getting up to 3. And it probably started a bit last phase with people talking about Fireback and who should get it. And I'm like, nope, Fireback is in my district, T7. And nobody else should get Fireback except someone in T7. I want to point out that at this point in time, the only other member of T7 is Syria. And right now, ADAP has a fleet in Essen's south coast that is threatening the center of Syria. So the fleet in Storm Basin 1 is obligated to go back to Syria so as to not lose it. So I say the only person who can take it is Syria, and then to everyone's eyes it's obvious that Syria is not going to take anything this phase. And so, by staying true to this argument, to its core, nobody else is ever going to get Fireback. Unless they get the districts to get redrawn or a whole bunch of shenanigans happen. Mm-hmm. And so people start talking about this a lot. And this gets people starting talking about, are we going to redraw districts? Because it's ridiculous that Ezio is going to get everything in T7. This is unfathomable. How could we let this happen? I have one saving grace, though, and that is I'm not the biggest person in GTFO. If you look over at Partridge, you'll notice that Partridge got supported into Italia, and I believe has agreed to be supported into Grouse and is going to take Grouse. And so Partridge is going to get to 4, whereas I'm just going to be going to 3. And so I'm not the biggest threat. I'm just doing my job, killing a stabber. This is great. Notably, people are calling out these small amounts of hypocrisy about me letting a non-Turk take Sanlifora. And me being okay with this, whereas I'm not okay with a different Turk taking something else from T7, which, yeah, I argue it's different because this is taking a dot from the stabber versus Fireback would be taking a dot from me. But other people called this out a lot. People are not happy about this. And I believe I explicitly told Chicken to get stuffed when Chicken was like, I want Fireback. And I said, no. And then you'll notice that I think Chicken was angry with me and therefore didn't put a support hold on Constantinople. But the tactics didn't matter because we were cutting everything anyways. The other big thing to notice is that Crossroads NMR'd again. They're the army that was in Crossroads. They're now in Gaz. And so it's like, oh, cool. This is a person who's not that invested in the game. And they noticed that Marash misordered and didn't pay attention to what was actually happening, and so ordered the support into Journey from Crossroads when that move wasn't happening. So it's like Marash and Gaz are both clearly not active players, right? So they're going to get subbed, but importantly, they are people that I can put in my district, and they're not going to cause any trouble, right? Yeah, they'll go with whatever I want, and they're not gonna just say anything. And so I would love to, in the event of districts being redrawn, and I noticed that people are complaining about tier 7 only having 2 people in it. If I get people, it must be Gaz and Marash, and I am not gonna let Chicken or Adana or Istanbul, or actually Istanbul I would be willing to accept. The problem is just the location of it. Like Istanbul is now an S key, and
I've lost
if
that,
I
sorry.
want,
Where is that?
so Istanbul is up
Oh,
next to Adana,
here,
and
yes.
then there
Okay.
in S, there this one up here. And Istanbul I'd be more okay with. The problem is I don't actually want to try to get the dot in Eski because that's gonna force a fight with the Dana in Istanbul. Or with the Dana, like, and the chicken is gonna be annoyed and stuff, and I don't want to really look for that one. Whereas I'm pretty sure I can set myself up to just get Marash and Gaz easily at some point in the future, and so putting them in my district makes sense. So like I'm not we're not doing this yet. We're not explicitly redrawing districts at this point, but it's something that I've become aware of immediately.
Mhm.
Um, like kind of at this phase when I realized this is what I want to have happen.
Yeah, because
Um,
notably this district here is now one, like, this is just these two players, right? Maybe this one as well? But this player here is part of Fire, I think you said. Forest is not a
yes.
GTFO member, so this district is just a mess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that is definitely gonna dissolve.
Yep.
Uh, yes. So, I one other thing I'm curious about here. Did no one go and say like, "Hey, can I please have pheasant off of partridge because they're getting to 4?" Uh,
Yeah, I think Chicken could have made a reasonable ask for that. I don't remember if Chicken did or not.
hmm.
But similarly, the way that I was like, nobody's allowed to take anything off of me. I think Partridge was doing something similar at up to this point. Um, so far, Partridge was like, no, I want dots and I want to do stuff. Um,
Hmm. Righto. Well, good job to them, I guess, and good job to you for getting, well, potentially getting to 3. I guess we still need to see the full turn to see if you
yeah, it
keep it.
looks pretty tough
Um,
for things to go wrong. I mean, except for people taking fire back, obviously, of one of the 3 armies that are adjacent to it.
mhm.
But given the nature of GTFO, anyone taking fireback would be stabbing GTFO, and therefore would be like an explicit stab, and they would be excommunicated. They'd be dead. They would not last. And it's not like any of them are strong. They're all one daughters, and so if they did a stab, they'd go up to 2, sure. But I mean, I still have 2 dots, so it's not like I'm useless. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling very good about this whole thing, and like, there's chaos going on outside, and like, people are doing some nonsense, but it doesn't really matter to me, right? Everything outside of Carmelond, right? I guess if you move up a little bit, we can look at what's going on with like Farna and stuff, but that's going to start to affect you, and so
Yeah.
I guess you can start taking over from here, meme.
Alright, so looking at OFS, you will see that Kragujevac actually keeps their word. This self-bounce in Timisoara was arranged, and they were pushing forward into Cold to try and deny it to Spiral and start advancing against Spiral here. And you can see that St. Polten is advancing against them, moving into Warm. Dawnburn, who is currently in the Rift, and is also part of Spiral, is trying to get into Cold as well, and fails to do so. Now, this up here, I don't remember as clearly what exactly was going on with Australia. I feel like they came into full with the idea of helping us repel Spiral because they'd been hard aligned with OFS for the entire time, but I don't see the convoy to Finn helping with that, so I assume this part of it must have been a stab or like some kind of precaution on their part against Kragujevac, who admittedly they had just seen stab someone, so it's a fair call. Um, but yeah, seeing this unit in here and this unit here is probably going to be quite scary, at least for Crag. And like I'm looking at it and going, well, Spiral are advancing on our doorstep over here. We've got Australian units up here now, and I've got a player behind me who I don't trust very much. Maybe now is the time to change things up a bit. And we'll see that happen going into the next phase. Crescent does get out into Serpent's Bay. There's a lot of negotiating over this. I think Varna definitely did not want them to come this way, and there was a huge amount of back and forth, but they do eventually decide to do this anyway and just go out. And of course they're advancing into Warsaw on this side, and taking, and Timisoara is taking Enodak over here. That about covers everything that's happening to OFS right here. The more interesting stuff happens at the beginning of the next phase. So I am just going to move on to that one, as long as you're done talking about the moves here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine talking about the moves.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is good.
Righto. So here we are on the clean map. This is the situation that I find myself in. You note that I have 3 allied units next to me, 2 enemy units next to me, and there's a fleet in Serpent's Bay, and these are almost all of the relevant units to me. There's one more, which is this army in full, which could be relevant, and I guess the army in the Rift, but that one's a bit less so. So, at this moment, I go into the chat, and we were kind of just joking around at the start of this phase, because we've had a bit of a running joke up to this point that, like, Styr was killed by French assassins or whatever to give Crag an excuse to stay in the Alliance, right? And we're joking around with stuff in press, and I go ahead and joke, and I'm like, oh, do you want to see a big move now? And Crag's like, sure. And then I at the people in Spiral and go, hey, can I join Spiral? And it's at a really interesting time, because over on this side of Spiral, we haven't seen this so much, and I didn't really look at his moves last turn to see what the relevant part of this will be. I think, basically, over here, Klagenfurt is aligned with, this is Leoben, who is now in Linz, but is against pretty much everyone else in this region. So he's never going to make any progress, right? There's a huge block of armies here. So he really wants to convince someone to flip on their alliance and to work with Spiral, get into Spiral, and then they can roll over that section of the board together. So Klagenfurt, seeing my proposal of joining... Ooh, that's too far forward. Seeing my proposal of joining Spiral, basically jumps in and highly recommends St. Polten. Let him in. Like, this will be a great thing. If we can bring Feldkirch into Spiral, and Feldkirch does well out of it, that will give an example to the people on this side of the map that joining Spiral is actually a really good idea. So, St. Polten goes, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and join, we'll work with you, and we'll roll over the rest of OFS. And the rest of the rest of the group here are pretty much in agreement. I'm trying very clearly to be like, the reason I'm doing this is not because I hate OFS or anything. I think that the OFS are quite cool, and the main reason for that is this unit in Serpent's Bay, but we'll get to that with the tactics. The reason I'm doing this is because I've got Kragujevac behind me, who I don't trust in the slightest, who just stabbed my friend, right? And I've been kind of in a hostage situation up until these units got here, and now there's people who can save me, right? I might be able to survive this. So yeah, I decide to flip, and Kragujevac is taken back. Like, he's like, wait, really? You're really doing this now? With this many units around you? I am just going to kill you if you do this. But I go, okay, I've made my decision, I'm gonna do this. Please, please, Spiral, keep me alive. I'm curious what your thinking on this situation would have been, Ezio. I know you sort of made the better decision here of making sure you were never in a situation like this in the first place, right? With one dot surrounded by enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely preferred would have been avoiding the situation. Sometimes that can't happen. I would not have tried to abandon ship yet. But, like, he's self-bounced to Timmy, right? With Wiener and Crag.
Yes.
Yeah, those aren't going anywhere. You're screwed, man.
Yeah, it's kind of a last-ditch effort to stay alive, right? At this point, you just
Yeah.
gotta do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, just get out alive, do your best. I think this makes sense. I think because you're probably gonna die, right? This chaos is too much.
Hmm.
You're like gonna get supported into Stayer or something.
Well, so that was a thing I was thinking I could potentially do, right? Maybe I can get into Styre and then I probably survive. I think the Australians would be willing to do that to help because they helped Timmy Sawara on this side as well, and that's the same person, right? Who's in these two, and yeah, I was really hoping for that. And then once I did this and flipped, Kragujevac goes, "Okay, I'm gonna kill you now. You know what, Breggans, you can just have Styre. Just move in there." And I was like, oh my god, that's a problem. That's quite a large problem. Please, Breggans, don't do that. And Breggans just goes, yeah, I'm gonna take that deal. I'm going to Styre. I was like, oh. Well, that's one option off the table. I can't survive here now. If I go there, I'm gonna bounce him out, let Kragujevac keep extra units, and I probably get killed at the same time. So that's off the table. Really, my hope now is getting double support held in this province, because then obviously Crag can't kill me. He's got 3 units. And they'll... Yeah, they can't all... he hasn't got anything else that can assist with that. So... Yeah.
It'd be wonderful if they spent all their time supporting you to hold instead of just trying to take your center.
Yeah, that's the downside, right? Because Sankt Polten is clearly in this just for dots. Why would he bother standing on this line support holding me when that's not going to advance him at all in any way?
No, it seems perfect to just tell Crag, hey, I'm going to double support Feld, you can't take it this turn, and then just try to take it himself.
Yes.
Right, that's definitely the line that I would go here.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news for you is this might even save you, actually, because I mean, depends on what Crag does. Because if Crag doesn't cover Stayer, then you have a retreat available to stay alive.
Well, Breggans is going into Stayer because he offered that to Breggans.
Well,
yeah.
You're cooked.
Yeah. Things are looking really bad. I can get Dawn to tap Cold, right? But then Cold can just be the mover going in here. And then he gets the double support, so I need the double support hold to survive. And then comes the other problem, which is that I have just, by doing this, flipped against OFS, right? I've been very clear in my writing. I've been trying to say, I'm just flipping on Crag. I'm not flipping on anyone else. I just want to get the stabber out of our midst. But in doing this flip, I've had to join Spiral. And the rest of Spiral are still being pretty openly anti-OFS as a whole, right? They are happy to say, look, we're going to run over the entirety of this Austria. Which means that this fleet in Serpent's Bay, which belongs to Crescent, who is in OFS, suddenly becomes super important. Because that fleet can tap Fang, and if it taps Fang, I'm screwed, right? Crag just double supports that down, keeps 3 dots, I die, even if Sankt Polten double supports me, and Breggans just goes to Styre to block my retreat. And I'm killed. The other thing they were proposing, Crag actually proposes that they can convoy Crag over to Dirge. I think that's what they decide anyway. It was something similar to that. And suddenly Sankt Polten was like, well, hang on, I can't let that happen because I'm not getting any dots here. So if they get anything into Dirge, I'm completely screwed. they get it into a completely empty part of the map that belongs to Spiral, right? It's more important to protect that than to protect some random 1-dot person who, again, by protecting this person, we're not gaining anything. So there's a lot of stuff happening here, and my negotiations end up being pretty much entirely focused on Crescent going, please don't do either of these things. Please, 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 please just tap Crag. You know, I can try and support you into Crag. It's not going to work. I mean, I don't say that part, but I can give it a go. And Crescent is being really non-committal pretty much to everyone and kind of just hiding what their intentions would be here. Which makes me go, oh god. I think I'm going to die. Yeah. That's pretty much where it ends up. The biggest thing that makes me think I'm gonna die here is because Crescent is being so non-committal on what they're doing here. Sankt Polten is, like, openly in chat saying that he's leaning towards sending Fang back to Dirge. Which means I don't get the support holder, right? So Crag can always just kill me. This is,
good luck.
Yep. Well, we will see how that goes when we get back to talking about this. Is there anything you want to talk about while we're on the clean map?
Yeah. So this phase, people start talking about stuff, and so since Chicken was like, "Hey, I want to get fire back," and I was like, "No," then Chicken was like, "Oh, well, the only dots I'm ever gonna get are gonna be dots to my north." So then Chicken asks Adana, "Hey, would you please convoy me with your fleet and ghost basin somewhere north? Maybe up, what's the name of Fork? Yeah, please convoy me to Fork." And I was like, "Oh, I'm in love with this idea. I am so happy with the concept of this army of Chicken getting convoyed out, because I've already secured my area. I don't need the support in Constantinople anymore. This will be great, and let's get the army away. That's just, please, 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 get it gone, make me safe." Mm-hmm. And it being at Fork actually does stuff, because Crescent is not a member of GTFO, and if we put an army in Fork and Adana puts an army up in World's Tier, then suddenly we have 2 on Crescent, and Crescent can't really defend themselves. And also Ufa's gonna be captured, like, let's go.
Notably, Crescent has been working with you, and is still working with you over here.
Yeah, but, like, not good. I don't remember exactly what happened. There was a bunch of weird negotiations going on. One of the things that I've understated, well, how important it was throughout the early part of this game, were negotiations around Russia. Because GTFO has been talking with the people in CaptainMeme's alliance, and also the alliance directly to the north, Australia, right? And OFS to mess with Russia. And, like, who exactly we work with and what's going on and what deals get offered have been changed like a billion times, and I am super simplifying everything. But I don't remember Crescent agreeing to give us anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have an army in the Ukraine, but I forget if they agreed to give us Warsaw or not. I feel like they didn't. And it's like, if they're not going to give us anything, why do we care? Like,
yeah, so I do have some stronger memories of this, if you want me to quickly fill in.
Yeah, go for it. Like, what the hell was going on up here?
Crescent was going to help GCFO into Rostov and Omsk. That was, like, their part of the deal, and they would get Warsaw and Ufa out of it, right? The problem was, when they came to do that, Rostov and Omsk had their little gambling match, and then GCFO said, basically, whoever wins this gambling match gets inducted into GCFO. And then Omsk becomes part of GTFO with the centers that were being offered to GTFO. So suddenly GTFO already has all the centers that Crescent was going to help them into, right? And Crescent still expects GTFO to keep their side of the deal, because Crescent is going, well, you know, I would have helped you if you... I mean, you've basically got these dots and been able to bring Omsk into your alliance because I was there threatening them with you guys. Right? So I've done my part of the deal. I'm going to go in and get this now. And, of course, the problem with that is, for one, the GTFO members feel screwed over because they haven't actually gotten anything else of this, even though it's entirely their own fault for letting Omsk into the alliance. And, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the main issue, right? The other issue is that GTFO have already got their cut now, so what incentive do they have to let Crescent in here now that they've got nothing else to get out of it? So yeah, we'll see how that goes, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of a repeated theme in this game. I don't know how much is going to come up in our commentary, because there is a lot that we have to skip over, just because we're focused on 2 very specific stories on a 147 player map, right? But especially with the larger alliances, it does feel like it's a repeated theme of them offering deals to smaller alliances and then walking back those deals later because they've got what they want and they're stronger, so screw you. And if you still have to work with those people later on because they are bigger than you and they are the strongest people around. I feel like it would have been less of a thing for you because you were inside a massive alliance, like, for at least this part of the game. So, you don't get to experience that as much. But certainly when you're inside the smaller alliances, it's a very... like, you get a repeated sense of injustice because other people are constantly screwing you out of things and you can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah, I will. I think that was happening. I agree. I don't think it's necessarily because the alliances were bigger and making deals with smaller alliances. I think it's because people just didn't make deals that benefited themselves. I feel like people were like kept on thinking about this game in the wrong fundamental way. Because this is not like diplomacy is not a game about alliances. You cannot win in an alliance, like as an alliance, right?
Yep.
Even if your alliance has more than half the map, you don't win the game. You personally need to have enough dots to win. And people were looking at this game too much of the sense of, oh, if this alliance has more dots now, then our alliance is stronger, and that will help me in some theoretical way. That is not always true. And so it's something like accepting Rostov or Omsk into the alliance and inducting them is much worse than taking their dots. Because you've increased the center count in the alliance the same, yes, but you've also increased the number of players. You make it harder for you to do anything. And as a result, people would make a deal, in this case, let's talk about this Crescent deal, right? Where Samson and Konya were probably happy with a deal that involved us taking Rostov and Omsk. But then, like, when we have this negotiation where people agree to let Omsk in, where people like me or Adana or whomever who weren't going to get these dots are like, sure, let's just let Rostov in. Because from my perspective, I don't care about the distinction between letting Omsk in versus taking the centers because I wasn't going to get those dots. And most people feel that way in the alliance. And so most people are going to say, let's just deduct them. We don't care. But the people who actually stood to benefit, who are the ones close to the region, are sitting there not growing, not getting anything from this. And so their feelings are still hostile, and so they're going to try to actually get dots. And so you have these schizophrenic alliances where it's not in my interest. I don't care about the distinction. The people who are close do care. They're the ones who are negotiating with their neighbors. They're going to change their deals. And so things just break down because things aren't centralized. And there's no like one person making deals for the sake of the alliance. And this is a point that I fought with GTFO on repeatedly, despite me not actually getting deals, right? Like, I know that I was trying to stay out of it, but I was getting more active in this game, and I don't want our alliance to do... Fire was doing this constantly to people. I don't know the exact time that it starts, but it's just... Every time Fire gets into a place, they just break the deal, and like, oh, we'll go into this place and back out. And like, I've been seeing it with Fire in like our DMZ areas, that Fire just like sits in forever, like Frozen Passage, for example, that they're just sitting in forever, and Sea of Night, like... Anyways, the point is, these alliances, because we're so big, and because when they're in a game like this where everyone's talking to everyone, so much noise is there, and just having, like, even though it's not explicitly a democracy, there's just so many of us talking that what the majority wants is probably what's going to happen by virtue of being annoying. Unless you have someone with a huge backbone who's actually willing to call everybody out. Like me.
The problem is quite often the people who have the huge backbone and call everyone out die because of it, right? I think you had this very early with Van. We didn't mention them much in the first
yeah, nobody trusts Van
version, but yes, Van was very anti-GTFO, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't want a giant mega alliance conglomerating in the Turkish region, and were trying to propagandize, right, about it and go, you know, don't join this thing. And of course, because they said that, and they're on one dot, and they're surrounded by people who are part of this alliance, they just die, and their story is over. And so you have to be kind of tactical about when you bring up those concerns. When you're a 3-dot power, it's much more reasonable. Sorry?
Right. just calling out the major global, like the big alliance that's around you that has all of your neighbors and most of their neighbors too. Calling out that alliance and saying it sucks and nobody should join is a really bad idea.
Yes.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not having. I mean, yes, I guess that's having a backbone, but that's mostly just being stupid.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the other way you can have a backbone is do what Adipazari did and try and take out said alliance through your actions. And then you die as well, because there's too many people around you and you can't fight everyone. Right? Yeah, what you did was probably the smartest way of doing it. Just standing up to people after you get a bunch of dots and making sure that you're doing it in such a way that you're never going against your alliance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it strictly speaking follows the rules. And I'm not telling anyone to attack. I'm not telling anyone like that I'm going to take anything, right? I'm not like saying down with GTFO. I'm saying I'm pro GTFO and I'm anti you taking my dots, which is a reasonable thing to say,
Yes.
right? Like, and whenever anyone's like, "Hey, I want fire back," or "Hey, can you not be the one to take ADAP or not be the one to take anything else?" I'm like, "No."
Alright. Well,
Yeah.
yes. So, we started this conversation by talking about Chicken getting convoyed up to Fork, right?
Yes. And
yes.
then Adana going into World Steer.
Yeah, I also remember that negotiation, because I was trying frantically to get people not to do it, right? Specifically because I need this Serpent's Bay fleet, ideally, to cut Kragujevac in order for me to have even a chance of surviving. And one of the things that Crescent can obviously do with this fleet, if they know that Chicken is being convoyed up to Fork, is to bounce Chicken out of Fork.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, the convoy might be to Carmelond. I don't think so. I think it's the Fork, but it might be to Carmelond.
Fork. I do remember...
Oh, the S supports that. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that Chicken into Fork became a bit of a meme. But
yeah. Oh, that's very funny. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, because earlier in the game, I'd formed what I thought was a bond with Adana by going into the French chat and spamming down with the Emperor, right? And we kind of did that together a fair bit, and it was just fun in games, and you think that that kind of thing establishes a bit of a relationship in more in more way than you can usually do that with someone this far apart, right?
Yeah.
But I sort of was thinking that might have some benefit to me later in the game, because being friends with Adana is a good thing. We were good friends with GTFO for the first part of the game, and I thought maybe my word would have some impact on Adana because we'd been friends before this. No, it does not. What I found out when I was negotiating in this part, trying to get Adana to do anything other than what Adana wants to do was completely impossible, and like he just ignored me.
Yeah, Adana gave 0 fucks.
So that made things even worse for me, right? Because now Crescent is going, oh god, maybe I have to stop this sort of thing happening, and I'm like, oh my god, I am just dead here, right? There's no way I survived this turn. But hey...
Yeah, you look pretty doomed.
Yeah, at least Ezio is doing okay, so we can still make this video.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. Alright, well, shall we go ahead and see my imminent death?
Sure.
Okay. And this is where we start to say that I have plot armor. Because, okay, this time it actually was, like, some divine intervention. Because this player, Kragujevac, is Australian. At this point, Australia was having massive storms across the country, and one of those storms took his power out and stopped him from submitting his orders that night. Which meant that I survived this, despite the fact I was 100% dead if he had entered his orders, right?
I forgot that you literally had divine intervention to save you.
It's actually insane. completely ludicrous, the fact that I survived this phase. I did actually ask him afterwards, and he said he wasn't 100% decided on whether he was going to double support into Feldkirch or whether he was going to go for Timmy Suara instead. So there is some possibility that I would have survived otherwise, but I think it's like near zero.
You were dead.
Yeah.
Yep. But instead, you're alive. That army is popped. You've got Dorn, who's in cold, and then like this person who was going to kill you is now down to only 2 dots instead of up to 3. This is great. There's still fleets in Timmy and Bugas, so you're still doing fine. Like everything's great.
Yeah. It's surprisingly okay.
Wait, Adonis didn't walk up to World's Tear? Jesus. Anyways, I forgot about that.
I feel like that was some negotiation with Crescent, I don't know, but they did, it looks like your alliance did stab Crescent anyway, right? They went into Ufa.
Nah, we didn't stab Crescent yet, I don't think.
Was this
I'm pretty sure this isn't a stab. I think, yeah, because we're giving them Warsaw, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big part of this, is who gets Warsaw, and I'm like, GTFO should absolutely get Warsaw. And then they're like... And then they're like, I don't know.
We're giving them Warsaw is an interesting statement here, given that your alliance member isn't supporting them in, and is actually supporting your own alliance member into their dot. While
something that I don't know if we've explicitly talked about, the people in Saratov and Volgorod, I think, have become members of GTF in.
These ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think we accept Warsaw into GTF in at this point. And so I'm pretty sure at this point there's like only 1 or 2 centers in Russia that aren't already part of GTFO. Mm-hmm. I think it's like Tiumen maybe is the only one. I'm not 100%. But I'm pretty sure we've inducted a lot of people from Russia into GTFN. Not GTFO yet, but we like create this like not GTFO thing for Russia. Yep. And I'm like, okay, but with these armies, surely we could take Warsaw if we wanted to. But, oh well. We don't... I'm not getting any thoughts. I think people are being dumb, but ultimately I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And the dots are very much running out here, so something is going to have to change.
Yeah.
But,
and, like, Rostov's a reasonable... Omsk is a reasonable person, and so I can talk to Omsk about stuff. Rostov, who's now in... Saber, I think. The red one up there, they're very much not, and so I don't want them to get anything, and so keeping this stuff.
I know they reacted in the Discord after hearing the last episode.
Yeah, I mean,
calling them unreasonable. Let's put it in the in a nice way. Oh, something I didn't mention here, Timmy Suara does die. So Bugas stabs Timmy here, I think. And of course, Crescent stabs Bugas at the same time, because Crescent thinks that Bugas is gonna go to Crescent. That was like a whole thing.
That's the claim anyways, sure.
Yeah. Crescent ends up going up a dot because they have Bugas, Crescent, and Warsaw. They lost Ufa, but they go +2 here. So only +1 net.
+1.
And Bregenz changes his mind on this side and goes, okay, well, OFS is kind of dissolved. I've been offered Steyr over here, so I'll just take that, I guess. And I may as well help someone who will be more grateful to me for their survival into Enodak. So he supports, this is Ufa back into Enodak, and we lose a member of OFS. The second member of OFS to die, after Steyr, of course. And now we are down to, 4 members left. But we're all now in separate alliances, so that's... Separate alliances is pushing it a bit. Most of them aren't in any alliance at all, really.
They were actively at war with each other, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I am in Spiral. I've managed to survive, and I now have friends behind me, hopefully. And the person who wants to kill me does not have many units in front of me, so I should be okay.
Your position improved dramatically this turn, thanks to the NMR of your main enemy.
Yeah.
Divine intervention.
Gotta love it. Alright, let's take a look at GTFO. What's going on down here, Ezio?
So Partridge has a good time. They do get into Grouse and they keep Anatolia. The person who's in Anatolia is taking a dot off of Konya, and then Konya is taking a dot off of Partridge. So this nets to be Partridge plus one.
Partridge?
Yes, Lighthouse is
Okay.
Partridge.
Yeah,
Fleet and Fallen Strait is Partridge.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Partridge gained 2, but loses 1, so still plus 1. The other people are still alive. And then the Stabber goes down to 1, but doesn't actually get eliminated this phase due to tactics, whatever. It's fine. Suddenly, the Stabber in Adap has officially been eliminated, and I'm building, so everything's great. And what a glorious world. And Crossroads NMRs again. Not a problem. We're fine with this. If that army NMR for the rest of the game, I would be perfectly content. And then Marash gets into helps Smyrna into Ankara, which is quite nice.
Yep.
And Ankara, I think. Sorry, I think there might be Ankara elsewhere.
Ankara,
I think this one has.
I think this one is.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
yeah, the this is Forest going down a dot now, right?
Yes.
I assume it was agreed, given that this unit is not even bothering to try and prevent
it
it
just can't
and
do
walks out
anything.
before. Yeah.
They could have messed with Crossroads, I guess. I don't remember exactly what's going on.
So yeah, this is
Yeah, Ravine into Smyrna. There's concern, that Peacock needs to move into Quail to cover Quail, but if that move succeeded, then Smyrna would have died. That's right. So if Peacock's move into Quail had succeeded, then Quail would have died if the army in Ravine did nothing. But then we needed to have Ravine cover Smyrna to make sure that they stayed alive, and then we needed dotted Smyrna to take Ankara so that Ankara could stay alive. This left Crossroads open, and so whoever's in Crossroads, I forget who it is. Maybe this is Anakara.
It might be Ankara, yeah.
Yeah, Ankara. But then that was open, so they need to take Athens because our unit in Athens has gotten a dot somewhere.
Is that Volgograd?
Yeah, I think that's Volgograd.
It might be South Sweden.
They
or
were
South
safe. The
Norway,
point is, there was this massive cascade of dots that everyone's trading dots and no one's doing anything because there was this Stabber and everyone's like, oh, we can't risk anyone ever maybe being allowed to die, and I was just, people weren't talking about taking fire back off of me, so okay.
Okay, the Alliance can have all these inefficiencies as long as it's not making me inefficient, right?
You guys can do whatever you want. That's
fact,
all totally fine.
It's kind of fine if everyone else is just trading dots the whole time, as long as I'm getting a dot at a time as it happens.
Right? Then I will get bigger and they won't, and then I will be powerful and they won't be able to stop me.
Speaking of people doing nothing, we completely missed this over the first time around. In fact, I think we very briefly discussed it or something. But you'll note here Harper Ocean moving into Nile.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that,
Ezio? Nile is a paranoid son of a bitch. Everyone hated them. I believe they were didn't they win the previous game?
Yes. Yeah. They did.
This was like Freiburg. I think.
No, it's the other one. It was Bordeaux.
Oh, the other one? Yeah. All right. The point is, they were in the Alliance. They were very scared. They never got anywhere because they didn't want to stab the Alliance and also didn't want to die. Everyone was yelling at them, and then they subbed out.
Yeah. So they were Bordeaux in the AC1 player game that we played. I won't give massive spoilers to what happens there, although we have just spoiled who one of the winners is.
We did spoil it. Yeah, hope you watched the other one first.
But it's kind of the story of how they got there is pretty damn cool. But notably, they did sub in, I think, after Bordeaux already had two dots in that version. In this one, of course, they have 1 dot. And it's kind of incredible how having 1 dot is just psychologically so different to having 2, right? Because they're a hyper-aggressive player in the other game when they have the 2 dots, so when they have the security to know I'm not going to die if I play an aggressive game. Whereas in this one, they can't get dots anywhere. They're being told by their alliance, hey, go out to Harper Ocean and you can probably get something at some point. Leave your dot open and we'll do something.
Was the main point, right?
Yeah. So they are just not willing to do that. They want a dot somewhere inside. So they probably would have done better if they spawned in as one of these players, right? And were able to negotiate those dot trades. So they just continuously go out to Harper Ocean when your alliance goes, hey, what are you doing in Nile? We need you going out and doing stuff. And of course they're too scared of the Alliance murdering them to not obey the Alliance. But then they come back to Nile so they don't die in every single fall turn. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very small side note, but this is a very funny unit to watch during the game.
Yeah, but once they sub out, I think someone then does stuff with them, right?
Very possibly. Sure. Yeah, it's possible the fun part of watching this has already occurred. We'll
I think so. We'll see. You can look at it, though.
Yeah. Alright, so, anything else you want to discuss here?
Oh, okay, so yeah, Partridge has got up to 4, so I'm still not the biggest. And this is great. This winter, we're going to have some stuff to talk about, because GTFO starts going ape shit.
Alright.
So this winter, we're going to have a conversation. Actually, let's go to the winter. Let's just start talking about it. Like, basically, look, there's Fire making progress against France. France is going crazy. Ellie stabs again. Makes more progress. Just going great. Everyone still trusts her and loves her, and I have no idea why, but whatever. It's fine.
Yep.
And then we should double check what Clag is doing.
Right.
Because Clag is making progress, right? He's doing stuff. Yeah, he's in the rift. He gets another dot. And he's up to 4, I think, also now.
Yeah, so notably here, he had been working with Leoben prior to this point. And of course, these players had been trying to flip Leoben against him. They were unsuccessful in doing so. Leoben was still working with him and was actually trying to get the other players to flip on each other. And Clag goes and sees these guys aren't breaking apart that turn, right? And just goes, well, this is the dot I can get. I guess I'll just stab you and take it.
Yeah, and then he gets to build, right? And he can replace the army in Graz, and so it doesn't even make his position any worse.
Yeah. We basically haven't talked about what's going on all over here. I think there's an alliance called the North Sea Alliance, which is dominating to some extent. It's basically been North Sea Alliance versus Jupiter for the early phases, but Jupiter kind of disintegrates quite early on, and therefore North Sea Alliance ends up dominating, and I think Denmark is like their front line. But then these powers all agree to, go and try and negate this push that's coming in on this side, which is why they're getting a convoy off into Known here. It's a bit of a problem for Clag coming in here. I should also say, we've had 2 other people in this game make their own videos on their own perspectives for the earlier phases, so the phases we already covered. If you want to see those, they'll be in the description below. One of them is Klagenfurt, and one of them is Aethelans. And so they were both great watches. I would highly recommend checking them out. They cover a lot of stuff that we missed.
Yep, they're in other areas, they're talking about different stuff. It's very cool. Fully support.
Yes. Alright. One more thing that I forgot to mention here. So, Varna stabs for Constanta, right? And I think tries to play it off as I did this because I thought Crescent might walk into it. But of course it is just, I want another dot, right?
Did they really? There's no way they tried to play it off like that. Varna's got too much self-respect.
I'm pretty sure they did. I remember Constanta not being happy at all about
I thought they were saying, hey, I'm just scared because if they build an army in Constanta, my position's gonna suck.
No, you're totally right. That is how they tried to play it. They were like...
Yeah,
they thought Constanta is gonna gain something from here. They were always obviously gonna build an army here. If they build an army, they might kill me, so I'll take the dot and make sure that they can't. And everything's
Yeah,
good, right? Because Constanta is still fine, they're just in San Liev.
yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's their pitch, and like, I don't care, man. Whatever, sure. You
In
get that,
fact,
you're
I think
fine.
you're happy, right? Because it means that San Liev's backup is gone.
Yeah, I am incredibly happy. Obviously, this is like great news, right? This fleet that was in Carmelund and was gonna like could have gone to the Ghost Basin, could have support held San Lierfa. Like the fact that there's animosity now between Constanta and Varna means that I can take this dot without embroiling GTFO in a war.
Mhm.
Perfect. Everything's great.
Nice. Alright, so let's go to the winter that you were excited to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you want the builds on screen or
Oh
not?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no, no, no. So, this phase. Let's take a look at the center counts in GTFO for a quick second, shall we? So we've got Partridge up there on 4. We've got Constantinople over on 3. We've got a number of powers on 2. We've got Istanbul, Konya, or yeah,
That's Adana,
Adana,
right?
sorry, and
Yeah.
then Konya, and then Kayseri, and I think that's it. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, sorry, Samsung I think is up to 2 dots, right? Samsung I think has gotten
Yes,
into
they
UFA.
got
Yeah.
Ufa. And of course, Quail is on 2 dots now, too. Uh,
Oh, Quill did get to 2. Yeah, that's right.
yep.
Point is, we've got like 15 people who are still on 1 dot, and they are. Some of them are pretty pissed about people being on 4 dots when they're only on 1, and me being on 3 dots when they're only on 1. Now, the good news for me is that my neighbors are not these people. So the Gaz, right, Crossroads doesn't care if they're NMRing every phase. They've sent a message in weeks. Marash doesn't seem to care. Syria doesn't care. Constanta now in San Liurfa is just happy to be alive at this point and wants revenge on Varna, and we'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. But I think I let them into GTFN here, and then Chicken did want their stuff, but Chicken's army got convoyed away. So the point is, none of the people that are near me that can take my dots actually want any more dots. And so this is great news for me. Except Peacock. And we'll talk about. Actually, let's talk about Peacock. Because Peacock starts rabble rousing a lot. And starts pushing for this quote unquote land reform, which means we should let the people with fewer dots get dots from the people with more dots, basically.
Seems fair
And
to me.
I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Peacock with this army in Peacock instead of a fleet in the flightless basin saying, I think that people with 1 dot should take more, which I'm just interpreting as Peacock wants fire back. And it's clearly self-interested and clearly undercuts all the bullshit that he's trying to say. Um, and so he starts pushing this. I start pushing back with this case, and then he writes a manifesto. He writes this one of the longer messages, string of messages that's in the entire game. It's this 5-part nonsense, a whole bunch of things. The key point is that at some point he says, "I will accept to never get to a second thought until everyone else in GTFO has a second thought." And then I hammer him to the cross with that and say, "Great, you're never taking fire back ever." Because if you do, you go to 2 dots. And so I'm happy for land reform, but you're not getting fire back. And if people I'm not actually okay with land reform, but he's not getting fire back. And then we'll figure out if we can handle it maybe later. But Chicken's been convoyed out. No one else is going to take this stuff. I don't actually say this explicitly because GTFO is willing to jump through so many hoops to trade dots around. I don't explicitly say it, but I know that nobody is looking at fireback now and thinking they can get it. And so land reform is fun. And Partridge and I are the only ones arguing against land reform, for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Um,
The rich get
because land
richer.
reform is just land reform is just dot distribution, right? We don't, we're not. I'm not going to let you guys take my dots. That's the whole point of this. Haven't you forgot the memo, guys? It's mine, not yours. Um, and this causes some tension. This causes a lot of tension, and as a way to diffuse the tension, we're able to say, you know what, how about let's just redraw some districts, right? Let's like trade around who's where and let's try to balance things out more because as you've noticed, right, like my district now has just me in Syria. the district with like other districts are falling apart. Things are getting crazy because Partridge is getting so big. Let's redraw some districts here, okay? And then this somehow gets people appeased. Now you have to talk about redrawing the districts because everyone has their own ideas about what they want to do. And there's a whole lot of people who are instinctively trying to lump chicken in with our district. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Look, chicken just worked with Adana. Chicken got convoyed out via Ghost Basin. Chicken is definitely an Adonis district. Keep that district. Let them do their thing. No, no, no. I should get Marash and Gazin. Yep. No, no, no. These ones, they're next to Storm Basin. I've got 2 fleet stationed to Storm Basin. This is my central power. They're in my district. And then Smyrna is in Anacara, whatever. And so they were a point of contention that I was able to cede to Marison. And like Marison is the district counselor. He's the counselor of whatever district is down there. And so it's like, hey, you want to keep Smyrna? You can have Smyrna. That's fine. You want to keep Peacock? You can have Peacock. That's fine. In fact, there's not a million years that I'm letting Peacock be part of my district, because if that happens, I suddenly have to be responsible for giving them something. Because at this point in the game, I've really started to lean into these districts should be independent, they should be separate from everything else, as my way of saying no one else in the Alliance should be allowed to take my dots, and the people in my district don't care. So by keeping it in my district very localized, I am keeping myself in GTFO, so still part of the Alliance and protected from stabbers that way, but also I can have some level of a coherent, like, hey, I am doing stuff, and also I'm not threatened by my vassals, because at this point they are becoming my vassals pretty clearly. Like, again, I am as big as the rest of them combined, and they're not going to work together because they're not active trying to do anything. So that's the only district that I remember. All of the other districts get redrawn, and there's like people propose stuff for like 12 hours of people putting in their suggestions, and I'm around and I upvote every suggestion that has me with Gaz and Marash, and I downvote everyone that doesn't. And I like every time I see one of these get more traction, I like push towards it, and every time I see one that doesn't, I like, and just through the pushing of these votes, I get. Eventually, it comes up such that I have the district in a way that I want, and I don't know what the rest of the Alliance looks like. I don't know how they managed to, how they're happy with Partridge, because Partridge just has 4 dots right now, so any district that has Partridge in it is big, and like, I don't understand, I don't remember, and it doesn't matter to me, because I'm up to 4. I'm in my district, sorry, I'm up to 3, and I'm secure. Other things that are relevant. So Sanlierfa, Constanta, has taken this thing, and I accept them as part of GTF in. So they're not a full GTFO member, so they're like, they don't have any protection from stabbing, but they have GTF literally in their name at this point, and this makes them happy, I think. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't really know what GTFN actually gives anyone, but yeah.
It gives some level of security, right? I mean,
Does it?
I think in the Constitution, GTFN members are allowed to be stabbed by GTFO, right? That's like something that can happen.
Well, it's not explicitly written in the Constitution, but it's also not explicitly banned.
Yeah, it's the main thing is you kind of assume that they won't stab because doing so would be against your alliance, right? So GTFN...
Yeah, right? We're working with them the Irfa, yeah, so they're not going to mess with us, and I'm not going to mess with them, right?
For example, Omsk is GTFN, I think...
no, Omsk is GTFO.
Oh, Omsk is GTFO, really?
They are GTFO, yes.
Who is GTFN then? Is it just Sanlierfa?
No, there's other people, like... I think Warsaw might be, like, so not... yeah, right, Sartov, I think, might be... and like maybe Tiumen might be, because Volgorod is just Athens, right? So they're just in GTFO explicitly.
Yeah.
But there are people like in Eastern Russia that were in GTFN for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Tiumen and Saratov, because if it wasn't Tiumen, we would have taken their dots, right?
Probably.
Or did we? Wait, we did, because we took
it might be Kazan as well.
No, Kazan wasn't. It wasn't Western, it was Eastern Russia. I don't remember exactly.
Kazan is
there are people... yeah, Yeah, Sparta makes sense. Point is, there are people in Eastern Russia who are in GTFN, and the people in GTFO near Eastern Russia don't really seem to care about it. And also, we just have much less control over Russia, so right, we can't dictate that much.
Hmm.
But Constanta is not the first. Is not the first person in GTFN, just the one that's nearby me. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So okay, so we have land reform, which doesn't happen, but instead it causes the districts to get redrawn. Partridge does a gamble. I think it's in this phase, with someone, and if they lose the gamble, they have to give up a dot, and they lose the gamble.
Okay.
And we'll see this go out this year, but they somehow lose a gamble to go down to three, and this was the best decision that Partridge made all game, because it shows that they are pro the alliance, and being willing to give up dots is valuable. Um, so they are this ends up paying huge dividends throughout the game, and just everyone becomes so much happier with Partridge. And we'll reevaluate after this year, but we'll see it. But you're gonna look at the moves this phase, and you're gonna see Partridge give up a dot to someone. I'm fairly certain it is this year, and that's why they had a gamble. They agreed to lose, and that's fine.
Yeah, we should note the gambling culture that happened in this game was somewhat unhealthy. This game had a lot because Discord activities are a thing, so they're like little games that you can play in Discord chats, and one of them is Poker Night, which is just poker, right? And it became a very common thing in this game for people to just play games of poker to determine what should happen in a specific region. When I say very common, it didn't happen all that often, but it happened often enough for it to be notable.
It was incredibly common in Eastern GTFO.
Mhm.
Um, and it was also people were doing bets every phase on like someone was setting the lines for expected stabs in GTFO and stuff like that. So it was incredibly common every phase for people to be doing gambling. Some of it was like explicit moves. Hey, I'll flip a coin on heads, I get a dot. On tails, you get the dot. That was happening a lot in Eastern GTFO, and also the side game of people trying to get the most points by making predictions about what's going to happen. Um, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
gambling incredibly common, very scary, very fun.
Yes, it's also that this game is more of a meme than the previous edition of Chaos that we played. Like, people came into this one expecting it to be dumb because it is. I mean, it's a really cursed map, right?
Yes.
So things like gambling for supply centers were just more common because people maybe weren't taking it quite as seriously as they'd taken the previous one. Um, and I say aren't taking it seriously. People did still take this really seriously. Like the people who did well did well because they took it very seriously and they took every opportunity they could to try and get the upper hand, right? But a lot of people were memeing. That's important to note.
And a lot of people were trying to do well, but also didn't. Let's just
Yes.
zoom in on Feldkirch for a little bit here.
I mean, yeah. Look, I'm alive. I count that as doing well from this position.
Yeah, through divine intervention, through God sliding the power lines from your enemy. I mean, look, America only became independent through a couple acts of divine intervention, and look at us now. So,
Well, look at you a couple of years ago. Maybe now is not the right
uh,
time.
yeah, all right. Anyways,
All right. Anyway, yeah. So, right. So, shall I move on to show the winter?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, because there are some interesting things that happen to me in winter, but they're not concerning builds really.
Well, yeah, you can start talking about it now.
Yeah. There's nothing more you want to say about the builds here.
No, I mean, like, people who can build, which is solid.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, Izmir gets a fleet, because, yeah, we did take a thing from Tiumen. Like, up in Russia, I was talking about them being in GTFN. Yeah, Tiumen, do you see the fleet that we took up there? Izmir got that, because, look, members in GTFO who
Yeah.
did get their fleets out, like, we have been able to make landfall and make progress taking stuff, so it's working.
It's just very
Um,
slow, right?
yes.
um,
Yeah, it takes a bit, but it gets there. And then the other thing that I want to point out, if you look at GTFO, every single build is a fleet.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good
And
thing,
this
right?
is great, right? Because I want fleets to start pushing out. I want these fleets to get out, and we can start flexing our muscle like globally. And this is also when I start getting more active, right? This is I've picked up my pace, and I'm like, okay, guys, as an alliance here, we need to start getting out. We don't need armies sitting around in the Bulgarias anymore. I say the Bulgarias, like all of these things are Bulgarias,
Yeah,
right? So
these.
we don't need armies there anymore. We need to start getting them out too. Let's get them convoyed. Let's get fleets out of here. And like people are pushing back because they're like, they don't give any good arguments, but lots of fleets. Let's get them going. So this part's good. I'm quite happy with this to see all the fleets, and maybe we're gonna start making progress. Because I still think the like solution to everyone complaining about not having dots is like let's just conquer more land as an alliance. Like,
Yeah,
duh.
it's really hard to push out, especially on this map. I think we found that it does lock. Like, you can make progress, but it locks down at least to some extent, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah. No, it's super difficult for most people to make progress. I agree. Which is why it's important that we make progress where we can. Because the other big thing that we're talking about now is what are we going to do about Crescent? Because I am sitting here saying, let's go and take Crescent and Warsaw.
yep.
Let's do that. Hey, look, they just stabbed Bugas, so that fleet in Timmy is going to tap Bugas until the day they die. Especially if we agree to let Timmy take Bugas. And so let's just like get into World's Tier and take Crescent. Let's just take Warsaw. And then people start. This gets also a lot of pushback, and I really don't understand why this got any pushback. This is like the most obvious thing I've ever seen. It's like, hey, there's someone who's just pissed off all of their neighbors. We can make friends and get dots. Why not?
So
But
I'm pretty sure at this point, Crescent decides to join Spiral as well. I don't
yeah,
remember if it was before this phase, before you started talking about that, or I mean, it was definitely after the last phase because they were being non-committal on what they were doing with Serpent's Bay in that phase,
yeah.
right? But in this one, I think for self-defense against GTFO, and to try and make it so that it's like, oh, if GTFO comes for me, they're also declaring war on these players over here, right? And you don't want to do that, do you, GTFO? You'd bring the force of Varna into Carmelon.
Uh-huh.
So they go ahead and join, and Spiral allows them to join, so they are now officially Spiral. I think Bugus does not join Spiral, and is in fact kind of like he's the last remaining like true member of OFS, I guess. The one who didn't defect, because one stabbed, of course, two defected, and he's like the only one left. But he, I think, kind of sees the writing on the wall as well at this point, and he is going to try to survive, but it's so going to be so difficult for him to manage that, right, with a lot of
Yeah.
people around him who are not
The bit,
necessarily friendly.
the bit about Crescent joining Spiral, I want to point out. This is Spiral, remember?
Mhm.
And what was Spiral's rule? How do they feel about their members?
So, Spiral's rule, for those who didn't catch it in the last episode, is that everyone in their alliance is allowed one stab, and they get to stay in the alliance on their first stab. Notably, when I joined the alliance, I voluntarily waived my right to stab. I went ahead and said I am joining with that already used up, because I figured that was the only way they'd really accept me. Like, I needed to get into... Once I made the pitch to get into Spiral, I needed to make sure they accepted it, because if they'd just gone, no, screw you, then I just die at that point, right? So I go ahead and make it as appealing as possible. I don't remember if Crescent waives their right to stab or not. But yeah, anyway, that is the Spiral rule. You are allowed one stab on a fellow Spiral member. It is such a stupid rule, but it somehow has worked really well.
Point is, I don't think they respect their members that much. Crescent is a late joiner who doesn't have anything to offer the rest of the alliance and is just joining to try to save their own skin. I don't think we have to care. I am confident we can take Crescent and not piss off the rest of Spiral. This is especially important because I've been talking with Varna increasingly recently, and I have negotiated a DMZ with Varna in Karmalund, um, which is great. I just say, hey, I'm not going to go in there anytime soon, so I don't want you to go in there. For this phase, I know the biggest part is that we have a DMZ in Carmelond, but Constanta, the army that's now it's on the Irfa, who's just been stabbed by Varna, is like, hey, Ezio, can I go into Carmelond? And I bug eyes at him. I'm like, I've just negotiated on behalf of my alliance a DMZ in Carmelon. I can't tell you that you're allowed to go in there. This is Varna, who reads everything. Like, why are you asking me if you can break this deal that I just made 10 minutes ago? Right? I obviously can't let you in there. And so if he wanted to move into Carmelon, he should have just moved.
Mm-hmm.
He should have just moved into Carmelon.
Yes.
Right?
We've
negotiated this DMZ. You would have been able to walk in there, no problem. I would have been ecstatic if he walked into Carmelot. He would probably be able to take Varna or Constanta back. Right? It would be huge for us. But by asking for it, I have to tell him no. So I tell him no. And Varna saw this and was obviously spooked. I think they just self-bounce then. We'll see the moves. But Varna gets spooked by this. Varna's not happy about this happening. And it's very funny.
Okay.
Yes. Though that was a big one that I want to talk about. Was Carmelon is like now DMZ'd?
Yes. There is one more thing that I need to talk about from my perspective that happens this phase, which isn't immediately relevant, but in the long term it probably is. Right? At the start of this game, I started by talking about how I annoyed France quite a lot, and their emperor, right? Emperor Squarus, who is now officially dead. He was killed in year 2, or year 3, I think it was year 2. Maybe. Well, anyway, he is dead. France's alliance has fallen apart. They've devolved into chaos. The Empire, or L'Empire, which was the original France alliance that had all of the French people in it, now still exists, but it exists as Portugal, who is here in Tarni. They are the original Lisbon from here. And Liverpool, who is here. And is still only on 1 dot. That is the extent of the French Empire. There is none of it left in France. Which is kind of incredible. It lives on as sort of a meme alliance at this point, right? The thing is, there is also no L'Emperor. The Emperor title transferred to Craiova, it transferred to Lille, who is here somewhere, I don't remember. And then it's now, both of them abdicated, I think, and now it's just sort of up in the air. And Liverpool is talking about how there's no Emperor, and at this point, I just reach out and go, hey, can I be Emperor? Like, it would be kind of cool if I managed to inherit the Emperorship after everything that happened from the start. And Liverpool is clearly a bit surprised, but he...
Down with Emperor.
Yes. But he ends up asking me a bunch of questions, and they like, conduct some sort of emperor test, I guess, as to whether I'm a worthy emperor. I answer all of their questions, and I end up passing, so then I become the emperor. And I rename myself to L'Emperor Feldkirch at this point. L'Emperor Feldkirch and then square brackets Spiral, because I'm very much still in Spiral, and I do not want to make it seem like I'm not in Spiral at this point, because I will very obviously die if I do that. But yeah, now I am in charge of L'Empire, which consists of me, Tarni, and Liverpool. And at this point, I start trying to invite people into the Empire from all across the world. Just go, hey, follow the Empire. Now it's become this force for good. It's no longer under the heathen squares. And I actually get quite a lot of people into the Empire. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually mean anything from an alliance perspective at this point, because people are just treating it as a meme, right? And, I mean, very rightly so. I'm a 1 dot power in Austria. The fact that random French people and, like, random Turks and whatnot join the Empire doesn't really impact them at all, and there were no responsibilities for doing so. But it does make me notable in the sense that I now have a title. I may be on one center, but at least I'm in charge of an alliance, right?
Yeah. The timing of this was like shortly before April Fool's Day, I remember. In real life.
That sounds about right, yes.
Yeah. I remember that part. Because I have an idea that I put in my back pocket for until April Fool's Day.
Oh dear. Okay. Alright. Notably, I did get Varna to join the Empire. Everyone in the Empire had, like, separate roles that we gave them upon joining, that mostly they gave themselves. I can't remember what Varna's role was, but I remember you join at some point as well.
I do join the Empire at some point.
Is it here, or is it later? I mean...
I join after Varna joins, because I want to stay friendly, right? And there's no reason to not to.
Yeah, this was the impression I got from you joining, was that you were worried that this might actually turn out to be, like, a real alliance in the long term, and you did not want to be left out of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to not to, right? This is a meme alliance with meme people, with meme heading it, so there's no point to not joining, and I want a fun, stupid title.
Mm-hmm. And I think you got, like, assistant fishery manager or something.
Yeah,
oh no, it's basket weaver.
I believe first I was fishery manager. Assistant fishery, because I think Ren, whatever.
Ren's,
I think she was in the Empire.
Yes.
And she had a title, and I've been meeting with her for a while because, like, she was doing great and was having a great time. And one of the things that I haven't talked about in this game was I've been getting shit from people in GTFO, which is what I've been focusing on specifically. I've been getting shit from people in Fire. I've been getting shit from people in Austria. I've been getting shit from people in the North Sea Alliance. Everyone in this game has been talking shit to me and about GTFO for letting me get the 3 dots and how they can't trust me, how I'm going to stab, and how it's inevitable and how it's insane. People have been giving me and GTFO so much shit. So whenever people don't do that and instead said nice things about me, it was incredibly notable. Ellie was one of these people. Ronnec. He's also notably on, I think, 5 dots now. Which is a great person to be friendly with.
4, I think? Oh, no, wait. 4. Yeah, 5. They got South Sweden.
Yeah, nice. Pretty sure she's the biggest in the game right now.
Alright, we'll say up here. Yep.
Yeah, and so this is a fun person to be friends with. And so I'm like, hey, I would love to be assistant basket weaver. Also, at this point, she's still working with Plodiv and the other people in Spiral. And Clag is working with her. And at this point, given all of the shit that I have been getting from other members of GTFO about the land reform, about, like, Ezio can't be trusted, all this stuff, Clag has not so, like, subtly been trying to say, hey, Ezio, if you stab GTFO, we'll let you into Spiral, and we'll go crush people together.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really effective pitch. Notably, he didn't explicitly say that, and I'm not convinced he would have followed it and honored the deal if I did, because I suspect that Varna would just stab me to take dots from me if I stab GTFO. So who knows what exactly it would be, but he was very heavily intimating, hey, Ezio, we can be friends, let's work together. And so ingratiating myself with Ronnec also helps with this whole thing. Point is, I asked to join the Empire as, I believe, assistant fishery person.
Yes. Yeah, and you do get into the Empire at least to start with.
And you don't want me in there.
I don't particularly want you in the Empire.
But whatever, all other people want it. You're title and meme only, right? If like Ronnec asked to be emperor, right? Empress, she would be. So, right.
Yeah. Well, yes, I gotta do what the people want. And
the people have 5 dots in this case, so let's go with them.
Yes, there was one other quite important thing that happens with the Emperor title on this phase, which is because I'm in Spiral when I get this Emperor title, right? I apply to Liverpool to get it, and then he, as like the Empire's last representative, along with Portugal, bestow it upon me. I get that title in my name, and of course I then check with Spiral, look, this is a meme alliance, I'm still in your alliance, we're still working together, yeah. And Sankt Polten takes this and goes, yeah, you can still be in the alliance, but the Emperor title belongs to Spiral, it doesn't belong to you. So, we as Spiral need to vote for who in Spiral gets to be the Emperor. I'm like, what the hell? That's not what I want at all. But of course, I don't want to say anything against Sankt Polten, because Sankt Polten can come up and kill me if they want to. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, but this means a lot to me, and like I made an effort of going to the other Spiral members, specifically like Varna and Dornburn and Clag, and making it very clear to me that how much the Emperorship means to me, and how ripping it away from me would be, you know, really downheartening for me, and how one of the things that lets me feel good about this game, even though I might be on one sensor, is that I can be relevant through the Emperorship. And so they all end up voting for me to be Emperor anyway. So Sankt Polten's attempt to take the Emperorship, which I think was what he was trying to do there, does not work. But I end up staying in Spiral. They are okay with me being head of the Empire at the same time as being a Spiral member. Right, that's a lot of discussion for something that won't have an immediate impact.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you know, there is something that I think I forgot to mention that I'm pretty sure has happened here. I got married.
Oh god, no, not this.
Yeah, so part of the memes that were going on in this game was that people were getting married to each other and having ceremonies and like I do's and stuff. And I got married to Kanya. Kanya asked, I said yes. I don't remember the exact timing of this, but it was after it was very clear that Partridge was going to be the main power in the East. And I figured, hey, having someone in the East who doesn't want to talk shit to me is a nice thing. And so, and notably, Partridge wasn't talking about shit to me at this point. Partridge is still a good friend. We're like the two big people in the Alliance, and like, let's actually agree that we can grow in the Alliance, do stuff. But having another person over there is good, and I figure this will help Partridge continue to be good to me. Right? It's not like I'm ever going to attack Partridge, and it's not like I'm ever going to ask Kanya to attack Partridge. But the fear that I might do that, right, is the implication, will help.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This was It's an Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference for those of you who
it was so
maybe didn't get that one. Yeah, so I got married to Kanya. Other people got married. I don't remember who else got married. I never really thought about it that much, or cared that much about it. But it was just a fun touch to just figured I should mention.
Yeah, the whole marriage things in this game made me feel so uncomfortable. And I know there were other powers who were uncomfortable with it as well, because there were definitely, like, children playing this game as well. I don't know. It's just, like, a weird concept to say, hey...
No, I did not ask how old Kanya was. I'm not going to ask.
Oh,
I think that's best some things are better left unknown.
But yeah, so I steered as clear from that as I possibly could. I think I did get a couple people asking me either if I was going to get involved in a marriage or could I marry them. I was just like, I am ignoring you.
And we had some people ask if we could get married, I remember.
Oh, I do.
And I was not that. Nope.
Yeah.
No. Nope. Sorry, everyone. You can write your own goddamn fan art, and we are not going to give you.
No, don't say that. Okay. Anyway, so that was the thing that happened. Shall we move on to the moves? Oh no, I do need to talk about something before the moves here. If we go to the clean map. Once Ezio has finished dying of blood.
Yeah, go ahead, Captain.
Okay. So, right now the state of affairs in this Austria, is that I'm part of Spiral, right? Spiral is behind me here. We've got the Australians who have come in and taken Styre. Bregenz took Styre with permission from Crag, but is now happy to work against them with us, because I survived the phase, and I'm happy to work with them, and they want to keep Styre, and we might be a threat to that in future, so they want to make sure that they keep us happy. Over on this side of things, Crescent has joined Spiral, but they're not directly relevant to me. I'm trying to convince GTFO not to go in against Crescent, partially because I like Crescent quite a lot, and also partially because I think if GTFO goes in against Crescent, it gives them an excuse to keep rolling, and that might put me under pressure at some point, especially with Kragujevac still alive, because Crag may work with them out of desperation. Crag, at this point...
What if we work with you against Crag, eh? We take Crescent, and then, like, you help us into Bugas, and we help you into Crag. I mean,
well, yeah, but then I'm part of Spiral, remember? And then at some point, Spiral is going to be the only direction you can go. I know how these large alliances work. Once you're done with the people there, you're going to move on to the next people there, right?
No, just work with us. We'll just take Bugas and Crescent and Timmy, and we'll, like, go up the coast, right? We'll take stuff with fleets, CaptainMeme, and then we can be friends.
Yeah.
Don't ask how we're gonna help you with Crag if we take Bugas with the fleet, but well, yeah, we'll figure it out. I promise.
I distinctly remember that everything I was saying, you were saying the opposite of. This.
In this particular area, yes, because you didn't want GTFO to get in the area, yes. And I did.
Yes, exactly.
And that was the big difference.
So Kragujevac at this point is a free agent. Well, I say free agent, he's alone, right? He could be a free agent and reaching out to people, but after the NMR in the last phase, his spirit is just completely crushed, right? He is still gonna try and survive, but negotiation-wise, he was just like, oh my god, this is the worst.
Yeah, it's so brutal to go down to 2 instead of being a 3 in this Chaos game, and, like, having your main rival, like, the biggest person you've been attacking the entire game, survive, and therefore be around to be annoying, and that person's CaptainMeme, like, ugh. God.
I mean, I wasn't annoying the whole game to him. It was just on that last phase I flipped, right? But
yeah, point is, you're the main enemy that he has,
yes. And
just eliminating you would be great. And, like, you've been in the alliance that he just stabbed, right? Like, you're not gonna be friendly with him ever again.
Yes.
Right. So eliminating you would have been huge. And oops, that didn't happen due to literal act of God.
Yeah.
My spirit would be broken too.
So he's sort of a loner in this. Bugas is also a free agent to some degree, and is working on his own. I think he had a few other things going on. There was like an International Peacekeepers Society or something that was happening, but I think all of his alliance members were in other parts of the world, which meant that he didn't really have any protection here, right?
Sure.
But yeah, that's the situation. We were obviously worried about a joint attack into Feldkirch here, with the 2 units from here. We had... I think the solution to this was that Bregenz was going to support Feldkirch into Wiener Neustadt, and Dornbirn and St. Polten were going to support into Feldkirch to bounce anything else out. And at this point, I knew that, like, I'm surviving because I'm friends with Spiral and because Spiral want me to survive. I'm not trying to insist on the second center right now. I'm going to try and get it if I can, but while they're going, hey, I want another center, I'm just going to go, yes, you can have another center, just keep me alive. So I'm just going to move here and let them take this one.
Beggars can't be choosers, and it's important to recognize when you are a beggar.
Yes, 100%. Is there anything you want to talk about before we go to moves here?
I know, this phase we can go to moves.
Okay. I'll start on my Austria then, because it follows on quite well from what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Bregenz didn't support me into Wiener Neustadt. They stabbed. right? They didn't stab very overtly, right? They just stabbed by not supporting me, but it would have screwed me pretty badly had Kragujevac not just walked everything this way. I think Crag thought that something was coming into Symphony and wanted to bounce it, and I guess they guessed that Bugus might walk out here. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I end up, again, being okay because of something random that happens by someone else, right? In this situation, I would have otherwise been forced out of here, had to retreat into Lim, and then had to try and get Spiral to, like, agree to give me something, because there's no... Especially if Breggans has just stabbed us, there's no way we can guarantee something like Kragujevac very easily, unless Crescent is willing to just walk out and give it back to us. And specifically my unit having to go into Crag would be the worst, because this unit can always get cut by stuff, right? So supporting me up into there is never going to work. So I would need to barter support back into Feldkirch and ask Dornburn to leave, which would just be... yeah. That would have been pretty horrendous. But thankfully, Crag's moves saved me here. And yeah, I'm very annoyed at Breggans.
Well, what you gonna do? You've only got one dodge, so you can't exactly enact retribution on them.
Yep, this is true. But I guess we'll see as we go. Right, yep. So stuff happening over here. Anything? Yes. Yeah.
So we have an Istanbul sub. So Istanbul now is an Esk, and they realize that this army is probably not doing very much. They want to have a fleet. So they request that Adana takes their center, they will disband instead of retreating somewhere else, and then they will rebuild a fleet. They have upheld their end of the deal. And here I am praying that Adana just takes it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Just take it up. Why? Because I want to have... Istanbul sub is very annoying. Istanbul subs in, and their second message is, "Hey, can I have Somnirfa?"
I see why you don't like them now. When you say very annoying, it's I want a dot that Ezio wants.
Yeah, obviously. And it's just and just the chirping, the constant chirping. His Istanbul was active, and Istanbul was one of the most chirping at Ezio people, and thank God he subbed in post land reform, because the land reform stuff was just hey, look at these people who are near me who could take my thoughts. None of them actually want my thoughts, so nobody cares, right? It's not it's fine if I have a lot of thoughts. Istanbul would have completely undercut that argument, because Istanbul would have said, "Oh, I want a thought. I would take Constantinople, please. Yes, please, thank you, or anything, please give me thoughts." And beggars can't be choosers, right? And you recognized your position was weak, so you can't do anything, right? So don't ask for anything that you can't have. Istanbul is not there. Mm-hmm. But it's fun. Other important thing is that Varna walks into Carmelot. And I'm hold up a second here. We had a DMZ. And then Varna was yeah, but I thought that Somnirfa was going to go in there because Constanta asked to. And I'm what? No, that's not how this works. Bad Varna. Insert sending cat gifts to Varna of cats getting sprayed with water, I think.
Oh, Varna was a very prolific sender of cat gifts. That's another very important piece of context that you need here. Carry on.
Yeah, for me, sending the cat sprayed with water. And so here, despite us having this DMZ in Carmelot, I'm this isn't going to work. All right, Varna. How about this? In exchange for me killing Constanta, you agree to DMZ Carmelot and agree to let us get one fleet out.
Which was the deal you already had.
Well, no.
The one fleet out was not.
Because the fleet coming out was part of the deal, and I hadn't agreed to kill Constanta yet. Mm-hmm. But Arno was hey, we can't trust them, because I told them they couldn't move into Carmelon. They moved into Carmelon anyways after asking. They broke the DMZ, and so they can't be trusted. And I can't let Constanta jeopardize GTFO Spiral relations. It is for the good of the Alliance that I have to take this dot. Oh, darn. Oh, that's so sad. Ugh, it's coming up at Ezio. Let's go. Because I don't even think I propose it. I think literally Varna asks me to kill Son Lierfa.
I mean, it's pretty clear that was what you were intending to do anyway, right? With this?
I mean, look, I thought there was a very, 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 very high chance I did it. Um, but also, like, I just felt that being fully in Ghost Basin was important. There's a chance that Istanbul does something crazy. It's a sub. Who knows what the subs are going to do? And, like, I just think having fleets in Ghost Basin are better than Storm Basin right now. I'm not sure exactly why I felt that way, but that's definitely how I felt. I think Carmelon I was just focused on at this point of the game right now and keeping things stable and secure over here. That's my feeling of the gateway. And then Syria got back into Syria, which is great. But this was the big part of this phase was Istanbul subbing and wanting to get their fleet replaced. Yeah. And then I agree to eat the dot in Sun Lierfa.
Yep.
Yeah, the other people asked me to eat, and like, man, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Istanbul wasn't happy about this. I remember.
I can imagine. Was there no one like next to you who went, "Can I have a dot, please?" I guess you already made sure that these two
Well,
weren't.
once again, I didn't exactly advertise this, because I was talking to Varna in the other chat that Varna was in, right? Because Varna was primarily in the Spiral Alliance chat, which was in like Toradorial Supremacy or something.
Yeah, it was in one of the Austria chats.
Yeah, whereas Turkey was primarily in Bird is the Word. And so, and Varna's message wasn't like kill Constanta. It was like, hey, can you make sure that the person who broke the deal gets eliminated and can never do it again? And I was like, oh yeah, I can make that happen. And like, I get what that means, right? But people in GTFO were not nearly as active, and they're not going to notice this or pick up on this. And so, yeah, yeah, that's what happened, and that's great. And I'm very happy to do this because I get to go to 4, and that's just tying me with Partridge, right? Like that's huge. And then
it might do
yeah, I
a
don't
bit
know,
better than tying you with Partridge, right? Because your Partridge was giving something up, you said?
yeah, I don't notice this actually. I didn't recognize that Partridge lost a gamble or whatever to go down. And maybe I was off by a turn, but I'm pretty sure that was this turn. Anyways, I mean, I'm going to be going to 4, and I'm happy to go to 4, and I get to be strong in the West. And Adana gets into World's Tier, and everything's going fine. So I'm feeling like, I don't know, I'm feeling great. This is great news, and we'll see if Varna actually agrees to it. I end up appeasing Istanbul by agreeing to them that their fleet can be the one fleet that gets out of Carmelon.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, obviously I want to be the one getting out. I think that fleet in Carmelon is going to get a dot, or it's going to get into Serpent's Bay, which is going to give the Alliance lots of dots, and I can then use that to negotiate for more myself. And so it's a very valuable fleet. And Istanbul, I'm not going to give them a dot, but I am going to give them the rights to be that one fleet. Meanwhile, I'm just hoping that Istanbul dies, right? That Adana just takes it. And again, right, if Adana takes the dot, then Adana's up to 3. And I know GTFO has this whole thing saying we're going to execute stabbers, right? But I don't think it's like again, though that I'm thinking about this, I imagine that each district is going to consolidate into one power, right? Look at what I've done with my district, and look at how Adana's big in theirs, and Adana can relatively easily just take S here and then take chicken whenever they feel like it. Look at what Partridge done in the East, and like, I envision this alliance consolidating at some point, right? The way that Spiral kind of did it much earlier and faster. I still think we can get there later. I can see why Adana wouldn't, because if Adana legit just stabs, and if I take Sunli Fura, there's a very real chance that I just use their stab as an excuse to just go after them, right?
Yes.
Because, hey, they just stabbed, I'll take chicken. I remember I wasn't planning on doing that. I felt like Adana, at this point, I felt like GTFO was like me, Adana, Partridge, Kayseri. I still think Mersin was important, and I felt like Mersin was going to somehow conquer their district, but I don't remember why. I think it was just a counselor, I guess. But it was like these are the people that I was already feeling like GTFO was going to become, anyways, and so
Wow,
like
you didn't include your
eliminating these.
partner in that.
Oh no, I did not. No. Um, yeah, I mean it would be great, but I wasn't thinking about that. But no, so I'm like taking dots off of these small one dot powers, especially when you eliminate them. Like I really didn't care that much. But I can see why Adana didn't, and I think it's a reasonable consideration because, look, if you give me justification to go and attack you and take dots from you, because part of the GTFO stuff, right, is been like, I've only gotten dots from stabbers, right? Like, I got fire back, that was the initial deal, and then I got adapt because adapt stabbed, and now I'm going to get Sanli for it, but because Constanta stabbed the deal that we made. And so it's like, yeah, these are just I'm just gonna grow from stabbers, and I could do the same thing with Adana, and that would be huge. So yeah, it was probably good to not take it,
Mhm.
but I would have been happy if they did.
Yeah. Well, alright. Is there anything else you want to discuss on here or not?
Let's look at fire for a quick sec and be like, hey, look, fire got us this big convoy off into gold.
They did.
Um,
Yeah, so Fire, notably, we haven't really talked about them at all, but they have stuck rock solid together. Like, there have been no stabs, I think, inside Fire. They have been very solidly making progress outside of Fire and starting to invade things like France and potentially coming in the north here. I don't remember if any of these are Fire. I don't think these are Fire yet. Um,
who's in the Austrian Gulf then?
that's Brazov. So
Sure.
I missed him
Yeah.
out before. He is technically an OFS member as well, so Bugus isn't the last one left. There is one up here. But he was an OFS member kind of in name because he didn't he did vote on things and we were together in that way, but he didn't directly assist us in anything we were doing because he's obviously not positioned to do so.
Yeah, but he helped solidify the alliance between OFS and Australia, right?
Yeah,
So he has some
that's
value.
pretty huge. Yes, and then over here there's
Yeah.
just some kind of massive war going on, right?
Yeah.
So Fire is expanding out in other directions. They have been sticking together, and they have a much more rock solid agreement between them on center distribution. So you were talking before about land reform and how
Mhm.
centers are given to the one dot powers before the multi dot powers get more. Fire actually had an agreement like that locked in, and they made it work, right? They actually had their one dot people becoming bigger as they expanded out, which
Work,
it
quote
does.
unquote, but fine.
Yeah, it does also mean that none of them are getting particularly large while they're doing this, and of course, because the map is the way it is, this is really slow progress to get anything, and it's even slower progress for any individual person, considering you're having to split the dots between however many people. But they are slowly all getting up to like two. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They are slowly getting everyone up to two.
Yes. Meanwhile, France is a Thunderdome. I don't even know what's happening up here. Watch Aethelon's video if you want to know what's happening here, right? And Spiral is
Basically,
starting
there's
to win the south of Austria.
yeah, I mean Spiral's one south of Austria?
Well, yes.
Question mark, right?
Yeah.
This was yeah.
And the north of Austria up here, I think some things are happening. Although Clegg hasn't managed to push any further here, so yeah.
Yeah. Clag is getting slowed down a little bit.
Okay. Right. Shall we move ahead then?
Yeah, I think we can go to fall.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
this sprint was so fast.
yeah. I think notably in my area, right, we are punishing brigands for stabbing us. Pushing in here and moving up against Australia. I don't remember if I don't think there was any direct agreement with Crag over any of this. It was just that this unit is not safe, right? If Brigands moves with Crag, and they work together on this. And I think Brigands had some sort of deal with Crag to get supported, or to support him, or something like that. I don't remember. Which was why we were like, oh my god, we need to evac this and try and survive again. And Craig just walks into 2 dots over here, so he ends up on 3 again somehow.
Yeah.
Yep. But Spiral is slowly moving forward. Dawnburn manages to get to 2, and I am still on 1 center, and I'm now in Styre.
Let's look at what Timmy does here, by the way. Because the army that's in Timmy knew what was going to happen with these units, and chose to support hold Crescent in Crescent, rather than bouncing in Timmy and staying alive.
Oh, so Bugus, yeah.
Yeah, that's the dedication that Bugas had to stopping GTFO's advance here because of how pissed they were with GTFO.
So I don't think we touched on this all that much, but there was certainly a point earlier in the game where Bugas nearly caused a diplomatic incident with GTFO because, like, GTFO were being unreasonable over something specific.
Yeah, Adana was being an asshole, as Adana always was.
Actually, people in the Discord said that Adana only started being like that, like, a few years in, so you're... But anyway, Bugas nearly caused this diplomatic incident, right? And we had to try and talk him down. And there was a point at which, like, he threatened to have me kicked out of the Alliance over it, or to vote me out. I started the vote on my own eviction from the Alliance, knowing that no one else would side with him on that, so it got voted down, and then we managed to talk Bugas back into working with us. But, like, that was all because he really hated the fact that we were aligned with GTFO, because GTFO were doing stuff that just... he was not happy about, especially with regard to his friends across the board. So yeah, and then you can see it manifesting on his final turn here, with the support hold of Crescent instead of saving himself. So yeah, 07 for Bugas, that's another OFS member down.
Yeah, and that's classic OFS stuff, by the way, right? We're gonna kill ourselves to accomplish nothing.
Hey! We didn't make a thing of martyring ourselves. I feel like that was...
True.
That just incidentally happens with some people.
Yeah. Notably, I'm still pretty happy about this. I'm perfectly content to have Chicken not build right now. I would rather Chicken build now than next year, but I'm okay with Chicken never building for the rest of the game.
Yep. And I know you do get the extra build. No one walks into Fireback, you kill Sunly Urfa, and you move back into Adapazari to prevent the retreat here. So Constanta dies. And yeah, you must be feeling very happy about that. I do remember, like, looking over, because I hadn't been following your press at all, or what was going on in GTFO that much, and just seeing every phase you get 1 dot bigger and going, how the hell are they letting him do this? Like, this is not an Alliance thing, right? You can't just let one person grow by a dot every time when the rest of you are all staying on 1. And I think I may have voiced this at various points. I don't...
Yeah, you did. You and every other goddamn person in the entire game. Everyone is like, you guys can't let Ezio grow. You guys need to stop him. Show some restraint. Whatever. You can't let Ezio do anything. And I'm like...
I mean, it's true, right? They are letting you expand constantly.
It's not your problem. Why do you care? Right? No one's going over there to Ronnec, and, like, people aren't calling the entire game, be like, oh my god, you have to kill Ronnec because she's evil. You can't let her do anything, right? Oh no, or whatever. And then it's like, people were looking with Clag. They weren't like, oh my god, you guys need to go and build armies in place to stop Clag from having a completely unattackable position from the entire south and southwest. And, like...
Okay, to be fair, I was saying that with regards to Clag for quite a while, until I joined Spiral, and then I stopped saying it because he was advocating for me staying alive, right? So, yeah, but certainly you were more of a focus. This is the problem that comes with diplomacy micro-celebrity status, right?
Yeah, streamer has come streamer privilege, also streamer issues / annoyance.
Yes.
Because people like to check and just see, oh, how's Ezio doing? Oh, look, Ezio's up to 4. Man, How is that happening? Yeah.
Yep. I
I
do.
wish that Stanley Urfa was still in the game. I wish that the counselor was still around and would be there to shield me from all of this noise.
Yeah.
Ah,
But now you have to
rest in
take
peace.
responsibility for your own growth.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that and I've grown.
I'm curious about what's happened here. That looks like it's not a friendly
It was
support.
not. No, this was a hostile support. There was supposed to just be a bounce and a Kara, and then Forrest knew they were going down, and this is the way the Forrest is guaranteed to die. And we then, yeah, we then they wanted to screw with it, so they gave Mirage the extra dot.
Mhm. But
And so now
whoever
Mirage
was
is
in
up to
Ankara does actually survive Smyrna, I think,
yes,
right? But
yes, we support Smyrna into Crossroads to keep them safe, so that way there's no way for them to actually die. I think so. Yeah.
yep. I'm also like this isn't something we'll be able to answer because we weren't paying enough attention to the Roman Empire, right? But I'm curious how Forrest got kicked out of
Oh, this is part
Fire.
of negotiations because he stabbed GTFO for Anakara,
Hmm.
remember?
Oh yes.
And we got them kicked out of Fire as a result. I haven't talked that much about the Fire GTFO relations because I kind of had to take over a lot of this, and it was just constant pain and constant hell and very annoying. Um, they had a couple of commanders who were the heads. They have Milan, who was one. They had someone, the green, like the puke color in the west. Um,
What
I
Barry?
think that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
Barry.
Barry. Barry I had to talk to a fair bit.
Then Naples was another one
Hmm.
down in the south. And then Padua were like the big. And then there was the Emperor, or
Oh yeah,
Caesar or
so
something.
they had an emperor as well in the Vatican, but he didn't do anything. like
Yeah, he was around just in name only, whatever.
the
But
ones I
what was.
remember, like I said last
Yeah.
time, I mainly remember Barry because that was the only one I really talked to, and he was um yeah. How do I say this in a nice way? He was very
Abrasive as
pro.
shit.
He was very pro fire and therefore very difficult to negotiate with as someone who wasn't part of fire because he would always try and like go, no, fire can get more out of this, and so we're not going to accept your deal. And because of course fire is quite a powerful alliance that has a lot of players working very firmly together, he can just say that and there's nothing you can do about it. So it was very annoying. And then Naples was the one I remember being friendly. So like
Do you
Naples
remember
would
Naples
come.
being friendly?
I think it
Wow, we
was
had.
Naples. Was Naples like the
I think it was
Praetor or
Milan.
whatever it was?
Maybe. I remember Milan being friendly and Naples being just. I didn't like talking to Naples.
Okay. I never really talked to Milan, but like Naples was the friendlier one from my perspective. I think Barry was the one I didn't want to talk to. uh,
Yeah, Naples was one of the most prolific Ezio shit talkers for no
that's
reason.
probably why I made friends with him. Um, uh,
Yeah,
all
fine.
right,
I
but
believe
yes,
it.
as you mentioned, you were frustrated with fire just in general, right? Stuff
Yeah.
like Frozen Passage and Sea of Night not being vacated. You technically have a DMZ with them and like a non-aggression pact, and they are being non-aggressive, I think. But
Let's
they're
let's talk about these fun things actually, because this was fun, right? The way these negotiations happened. So early on in the game, we have a deal. We signed a deal with them that's like, hey, our two alliances are going to be at peace. We're not going to fight each other. We're going to work together and coordinate to attack our mutual enemies in France and in Austria and in Russia, and like we're going to work together, and we're going to be fine. And let's be peaceful. Including this, we draw a map where we talk about places that are fine, and Frozen Passage and Sea of Night are what are referred to as transit zones. We never define what transit zones actually mean. And it's open to interpretation as a result. And then what happens with the deal with all of the deals that Fire made was that they had the negotiation with someone, right? So they would negotiate, in this case with us, where we talk about these things. And then they would have an internal poll that they set up. And then the internal poll would be different from what they've agreed to with us. Then they would vote on their internal poll and say, here's how the deal works. Here's what's going to happen. And then their internal people would vote on it. And then when it comes to later, and then you, from GTFO's perspective, hey, what you guys are doing is not the deal that we agreed to. They would say, oh, it's totes the deal that we agreed to. Look at what we've put in our vote that we said here. And then if you just look at that vote, you're like, I guess that follows. And then you look at what the deal you actually agreed to was, and you realize they've changed the language between the two things. But it's different people going on. And so it would be like I would negotiate with Milan or Turin or Padua or something, and then they would go and they'd have this ridiculous process where they would like make multiple different posts of legalese to different people, and as they go through their different bullshit process, and then someone actually makes a post that they vote on. I think Padua was the person who like made the votes, but like other people would make the posts to Padua to get them to do stuff. It was all very annoying and very convoluted, and they did this constantly, and it was very intentional. There was no like accidental oops, we didn't get the language right. It was like, oh yeah, we just changed the language to better suit us, and we're gonna pretend that it's all the agreement and democratic and there's nothing bullshit going on. And this pissed me off to no fucking end, to see here, to just have to sit there and watch people make deals with Fire when like look at what's gonna happen with the deal. And let's look at France now, right? Mm-hmm. Because this happened to France all the time. And CaptainMeme was talking about how people would make deals with these big alliances, and then the big alliances would just like backstab these deals. That's like what Fire does constantly for the entire game. Is they make deals, and then they say, you never stab a deal. And then it's like, well, okay, fine. Because they change the term of a deal technically so that they can break it. And then, if you look at the moves, is it this phase? It might not be this phase.
Where are we looking at specifically?
Oh, I don't remember enough of the specifics. Point is, Fire attacks France, and like they continue to push into France, and they make deals with people in France to stab other French members in exchange for security and safety. And then Fire just like keeps pushing in and attacks them. Anyways, and it's just like, stop making deals with these assholes. Just stop it. It doesn't get you anything.
The problem is it's you saying that, and no one trusts you either.
Yeah, because people are dumb. And when I make sense, they should listen to me. And I want GTFO to do well. But also, I recognize that GTFO doesn't have a lot of fleets at the moment in the West, because we took too long getting fleets out. The one thing that I do try is I try to get Syria a dot from France. This is one of my favorite parts of the game.
Is this right
the
now?
Power of... I think it's in this winter, right?
Okay, well, this is Syria still standing here in Syria, right?
Yeah. Because so it takes them a year, right? They have to get into East Passage in the spring, and then get into
Almada or Valencia, presumably.
Yeah, I think this is in the spring turn is when it starts talking about it.
Okay, well, we can talk about it.
Let's go after winter. Let's go to winter then, yeah, and then we can talk about this in the spring.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Have we... Yeah, we did cover everything, right? Oh, one thing I wanted to ask about first. Did this power just decide to die? I don't know who they are.
I mean...
But they walk out of Athens and let you kill Crossroads. I assume that they must have been a substitute or something. Maybe just got...
I don't remember.
Okay, well...
Put on my district.
They die in any case.
Rip 07...
Here's the winter, and then we'll go to builds. I guess I don't have the specific builds post, but the important one for me is that Wiener Neustadt comes down here. And then, yeah, so do you want to move to spring moves, or...?
Before spring moves.
Before spring moves, so, okay.
Yes. So we could look at builds for a quick sec. So I put down Fleet Fire back because I still believe in fleets. Fleets are important. Like, I have 2 Black Seas to control, and each of these Black Seas have 2 spots in them. So I want to have tons of fleets. There's a fleet in Istanbul. That fleet's fine. That's the idea. That one's going to go into Carmelon, and then we'll figure stuff out later from there. But
Do you mean
here,
the
right,
Eski fleet
Eski
specifically?
fleet, yeah, the
Yeah,
player is Istanbul, but their fleet is in Eski, and they're gonna do stuff. Um,
hmm
so. Oh, let me see if I. So I tried to get Syria a dot from France, because I think it'd be very funny, and I recognize at this point, due to this DMZ and Carmelond, right, I am not going to take any dots from anyone that isn't in GTFO anytime soon.
Yep.
But I know that if I I might just be able to let this happen and be fine. But I think people will get even more suspicious of me than they already are. So I need to make a lot of noise that's very pro GTFO getting stuff elsewhere. Um, and there are relatively few places that I can do that. One of them is Crescent, where I gotta make sure that we actually get into Crescent and Warsaw. That's the Crescent has. And the other one is France, that I can easily control, that I can like see and talk to and make noise about, and like give my. Oh, and we have a sub. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. Okay. So first the Syria nonsense. So I'm like, there was a deal that we made with Fire at some point that involved us getting a dot out of France. And I was like, we should do this deal. This is a thing that should happen. And so Syria should go to East Passage. Because from once Syria is in East Passage, then we can get something out of Valencia or Almada. And this is when Fire starts going apeshit. Because of that bullshit deal that we signed all those years ago that they've been blatantly ignoring, in my opinion, by having their fleets in the frozen passage and just having it sit there for the entire game, not just moving out, throwing supports, doing the rest of that stuff. I didn't even really look at the language of this deal, right? Because obviously who cares that much? But apparently East Passage was exclusively going to be Fire forever. And it's like, well, that's stupid. We don't care. You guys are ignoring this deal anyways. We don't care. Syria should go to East Passage and be fine. And we've got Varna, and I think that Varna would be happy to support us into East Passage. Um, who's in Valencia right now? In Valencia, it's Plovdiv, right? It's a Spiral
Yes,
member.
it is.
Because that's the thing. Because Plovdiv is okay with us taking Valencia,
Oh, okay.
ostensibly, right? The argument is that he recognizes I can't hold this thought anyways. So
She, I think, yeah.
sorry, but
That's all
she can't
good.
hold this thought anyways, and there's no way that Syria is going to be able to take this. So if I just say that I'm okay with Syria taking the thought, then I might be able to hold it. And I jump on this opportunity and I push as hard as possible. I'm like, look, Varna supports Syria in the East Passage, and then from there just supports the Valencia. Easy done, Bosch, no problem. And then Fire just goes ape shit. And like the people who aren't right here, the people who aren't, except for Turin. Turin is the one who actually is relevant, because Turin's like, fuck no. Um, so in my heart of hearts, what I'm hoping to happen is that Turin moves Frozen Passage into Syria, Syria moves into East Passage with support, and then I have my fleet in Storm Basin 1 and 2, and then I can take Syria from Turin and keep things safe while Syria stays safe in Valencia, and like that's my dream situation. But I suspect that's not going to happen. The point is, this is all much ado about nothing. It's just the microcosm of this game of we spend hours and hours spouting a bunch of bullshit. I remember making a poll to the entire globe asking everyone of the game to vote on who should get a dot from France. One of these two. And this goes through like three polls, and Syria wins the poll, to be clear. And Varna says that they will respect the results of the poll, and everyone just starts polling, and it becomes a pure popularity contest, which obviously GTFO wins because GTFO has the most people
Yes.
still, despite all of the chaos that's happened. And then we also get friends to go along with it, and it's very funny. Oh god, there was something I missed. Dang it! Ah well, it's fine. Varna tries to offer a Sanli Fura to Istanbul, and that very nearly gets me to attack Varna,
hmm
because I'm like I'm not about that life. Sanli Urfa's mine, not anyone else's. This was back when they had a unit in Carmelond. and I was just like, "Fuck off! I'm gonna go to war with you." And it was like very obvious bait that Adana just like took immediately and just like bit so hard. And I'm like, dude, this is just obviously Varna trying to get us pissed at each other. Just don't do it. But obviously there was nothing about it. Anyways, I forgot to mention that Varna's conniving little shit. But a conniving little shit that has DMZ and Carmel on. So fine. Okay. Sorry, that's all I wanted. Okay. And then a sub. We have a sub. We have a sub with Crossroads, the army that is in Gaz. And I'm fairly confident it's this phase. And I'm like, oh god, oh no.
Are they gonna ask for
I
fire
hate.
back?
They're gonna ask for fire back. They're a sub, and I know what subs do in this game, and so I just threaten them immediately. I say, look, here's the alliance that you're part of. You're in my district, and you will do what I say or else. And then Crossroads is like, okay, yes, yeah, absolutely. Uh, and then Crossroads has this great idea. Look, if you help me get back into Crossroads, which is much farther away from Fireback and Constantinople and me in general, I'll let you take Gaz. And I say, deal. Yes.
Did the person in Crossroads agree to this?
Not yet. But it was conditional of if I can get them back into Crossroads, they'll let me take Gaz. And I say 100%. Locked in, the best deal ever. Right? Someone offering me a thought, done. And yet again, I don't think people noticed this. I don't think the rest of GTFO observed that Crossroads made this deal with me because it was just like a quick one sentence thing that I said yes, and then I quickly spam chat, change conversations, change topic to put more stuff in here to make people not notice what's going on, and then I just have to start talking to Marison and stuff about Marison being the counselor of this district about getting Crossroads back in there. And so like there's a very simple way to do this, right? Just Izmir convoys Gaz into Crossroads, and then I think it's Smyrna and Crossroads. Like we give them a dot somewhere else. Oh yeah, it was Ankara, because remember Marash wasn't supposed to have gotten into Ankara to begin with.
Yeah.
Right. That was supposed to have been Smyrna's thought. So I'm like, yeah, we'll put you back into Ankara, and then we'll get Crossroads back into Crossroads. Sweet. And then obviously I get the dot in Gaz, and I'm not going to tell anyone about that. So sweet. This deal falls through for some reason. But I remember that I am going to get Crossroads back into Crossroads, and that is important to me. I also want to get Marash into Stormwall and Journey this phase, because I know that like things have been kind of tense with fire for obvious reasons, and so I want to have more units on the front lines to keep Syria safe and in case any chaos happens. Notably, Parma has taken over Forest, and I've talked to Parma a little bit, and they're like the second most reasonable person in Fire to talk to, Milan being my favorite at this point. But Parma's great. Okay, that's I think it for me.
Right. So
I think
before this phase goes through, right?
yeah, before this phase goes through, yeah, that winter and initial spring negotiations. Oh my god, has it been 2 years? Oh, dude, we are going even slower.
Yeah. We'll go to the end of this year and then call it, I think. But
we'll
yeah,
be here forever.
shall we go through to the moves then?
Yeah, let's see the moves.
Okay, go for it. It looks like Fire decides to invade you, right? With this jump across into Journey being supported.
Oh, the Convent of Crossroads does have. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh well, sweet.
Peacock goes into Gaz.
Mm-hmm.
Is that agreed?
Oh. I'm gonna kill that. I forgot about that move.
Do you want to talk about that move?
It was something that they did for some reason. I think it was they didn't want me to move into Gaz and Fireback and potentially take Peacock or something, but like I have 2 fleets. I threaten them with death if they don't back out of Gaz, and then they agree to back out of Gaz, and everything's fine.
Okay.
And Crossroads asks that I don't take the dot this year, I think.
Which I assume you're fine with, because
Yeah,
you're
I'm good to
happy to
go
have
right
a
now.
pocketed dot. It means you're still on 4 on the board, so people will be less scared of you, maybe?
Yeah, or they agree to let me take the dot and I just take it immediately. I don't remember, honestly. I could see it going either way.
We'll find
Um,
out in the fall phase, I guess.
oh, there was
Wait,
sorry. We
is...
should go.
yeah.
There was a stab in GTFO in the east. I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
Um,
What, this turn or the
the
turn
unit,
before?
yeah, the turn before it was in the fall of last phase. It's relevant. It takes someone takes a dot off of lighthouse. Um, Den Zilly, I
Then
think.
easily,
Yeah, they stab. I forgot to mention that. And so, hey, look, perfect excuse for Partridge to go and get their dot. See, she gets her dot back.
Yep. And you can
How
see Oms
convenient.
coming in to help as well.
Yeah, right. Just everyone's right. Stabbers must die. Thank you for stabbing. We appreciate you. These stabbers are keeping GTFO stable. Um, right, one stabber per year for the entire game. Other things that happened this spring: Istanbul moved to Handel Basin. I love this. I am so happy to get these fleets out of my area, stay away from Ghost Basin, and then Istanbul goes into Fork, not into Ghost or Esk, but the player Istanbul goes into Fork instead of Ghost Basin. Keeps me safe, gives me room. I don't want them to Ghost Basin. I think there's a good chance they dot me if they had the opportunity. So everything's great. Here, I think this is an agreed bounce with Varna in Carmelond, but I'm not. There was a phase where we agreed to be in Carmelond, and we agreed to fully occupy it, and then I declined to do that. And I don't explicitly say it, but I just bounce instead, and I choose to bounce instead, and I forget exactly why. But I don't remember if that was this phase. It might be later. I don't remember. Point is, we bounced in Carmelon. It's fine. Everything between Varn and me is like never overtly hostile, but also we're not exactly best of friends.
Yeah. Gotcha. Um, yeah, anything else to talk about here? I do note that I think this is after the Nile substitution, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nile subbed pretty early. I think Nile subbed in like 02.
Okay. Right, and they're being supported out once again into the
Yes.
operation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's basically everything that's happening in GTFO proper.
Yeah. The fundamental idea is you'll notice all of these fleets are finally getting into all of the canal provinces at the edge, and
Yeah.
we're really starting to make solid progress pushing out. And if you look up in like the Russian front, right, Fork has taken Crescent, and our army in World Terror is doing stuff, and then our fleet in Ufa has made it out. This is, I think, Samson's fleet, and so now we're really starting to push, except for that annoying stab, and so Rostov, or excuse me, Omsk has to pull back, but whatever, it's fine. There was a gamble over there too. You'll notice that Partridge is supporting Rostov into Omsk. This is agreed because they're making bad bets and like losing dots to each other, and I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Russian
Fine.
politics are just weird in this game.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever. It's fine.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, but I think that's it for GTFO. I mean, Chicken's happy. Adana's happy. Like, I think Adana's gonna get Ufa. Should get Ufa, right? They have units in both places, but they don't. These people don't take the dots that they can. Anyways, it's fine. I think that's all I got.
Okay.
I talked about this stuff mostly last phase. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, well, over on my side of things, right, I'm getting supported into Wiener Neustadt. Again, there's a 1 strength attack coming in behind me, so if this didn't work, if Timisoara support held Neustadt, for example, then I don't get knocked out of Styre, it would have been totally fine. We are getting Australian help now, so we've made up with Brigands and the Australians, and we're now planning to all work together against Crag. And Crag obviously sees that and goes, I'm going to try and disrupt this as much as I can by making sure Australia can't get any of the dots from me, so it's not in their interest to keep working with Spiral, right? So he uses his move to knock Brigands out of Symphony and back into full, so now Brigands can't get anything out of this deal. Notably, in the process, he loses Bugus. There were some things he could have done about that, but he decided to focus on knocking Symphony out instead. And of course, Crescent is evacuating from here, knowing that Chicken and Adana are working together to try and take these dots now, and they can't hold Crescent. They've got no one friendly around there, right? So they need to come back. Also, they still have this one dot in Warsaw, which is probably not long for this world, judging that there's a GTF Finn member, I think, here, and then GTFO coming in this way, and of course Omsk is still here, and, like, yeah.
And TMN is also GTF.
Oh, yes.
GTF Finn.
TMN was trying to support Omsk up, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, so, that is basically what was happening over here. You can see Clag is also just now trying to jump into North Austria. Oh, and this is the phase where he manages to flip someone as well, I think. You can see in fact, it might have happened the previous phase. Wait, did I miss there? Yes, this power right here, I don't know if it was original Bucharest, jumps into Belgrade with his support and flips. I think they kind of want to join Spiral, but they're not actually in Spiral after this. They're just working with Spiral. So you can see then the Belgrade unit supports Clag forward, and of course Spiral has taken this area. So Spiral is now completely dominating basically all of this area of Austria, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Spiral's terrifying.
Yep.
There's only like 3 people there, right? There's so there's like the main Spiral, and then there's the like southeastern Spiral, the one that's interacting more with GTFO.
Yep.
But like they're all on like 2 dots, and a couple of them are huge, right? You've got Clag, who's I think on 4 or 5. Right.
Yeah. We'll be on
You've
5
got
after
Plodiv,
this.
right? You've got Plodiv, who's on I think also 4 or 5, and then they're working with Ronnec, who's I think also on 4 or 5, right? Like, and so if you have this alliance with like 4 people who are all on 4 dots, that's nuts, right?
Yep.
And then they've also got friends elsewhere, so they are, I think, the scariest alliance on the board, because it is so likely that one of them is going to win this game.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they've got the Emperor in their alliance. Of course one of them is going to win. It will be the Emperor, right?
Dot, Mr. who's in Wiener Neustadt, who has recognized they can't get a dot because they're going to get eliminated for the past, like, 3 years. Who's only in the game still because of an NMR. Yeah,
Yep, I'm going to win this, I'm sure.
I believe in you, CaptainMeme. This game also has a time limit, by the way. I don't know if we've really talked about it, but I think the time limit's, 1915?
Yeah, so it doesn't start off with the time limit because these mods are insane. I should clarify, at this point the moderation team has kind of switched. It initially started as Thivs and Ronnec, and they have had a lot of GMs, right? At this point, the GMs who have managed to stick with it and not sort of crash out are Eris and Blizz. They are doing the whole thing themselves. So congratulations to those two for managing this. Like, it's absolutely insane, especially considering it's all hand adjudicated. Well done to you both. But yeah, so about a few years into the game, they basically have a poll saying, should there be an end year? And we overwhelmingly vote yes, because we're not completely insane. And it goes, the end year is set at 1915 if no one gets to the solo limit before that point. The solo limit is 15 centers, which it is feasible that someone gets to by then, but 15 is a lot in a Chaos game, right? Like, we'll see as we go whether anyone can get close to that. Yeah, right
15
now...
15 dots is a lot of dots.
Right now, probably the main contenders would be Renz and Clag, but you can see they're both just getting to 5 now, right? So
yeah, and Plav, I think Plav is also
yes,
a contender as well. Right, but like everyone in Spiral are contenders, basically. Like, again, like in the main, who started off in Spiral, the southeastern Spiral is less so. But
yes,
that's because they border me, it's all. People who border me don't win games. Definitely do, but we don't have to worry about that part.
No. Alright. But yes, so Spiral is generally quite scary, yes, and they are doing rather well, especially this portion. Um,
Yeah, especially Clag, because turns out Heinrich is pretty goddamn good at diplomacy.
yep. Alright, so, do you have anything else you want to talk about here?
No, let's check my memory. Do I get guys this turn?
No, you do not. And
No, okay.
actually, Peacock walks back out, and I assume Mirage supports themselves into Mirage to stop Peacock?
Stop me. They were worried about me taking Rash.
Oh, was this an organized bounce it was supposed to be? Or...
I think it was supposed to be a bounce, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a fire support for Syria here, just in case you go for that. There's a lot of people very paranoid about you.
Because everyone's like, oh god, Ezio's gonna stab, he's gonna take the dot that he can see a dot, he's gonna take it. And so I put these two units in Storm Basin, like, what are they gonna do, right? Storm Basin, it's only gonna border internal dots, so this is Fire's way of saying, oh, we're not gonna let Ezio get any bigger, and it's just Mirage trying to stay alive. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, I picked a good turn to not try to stab, right? Because everyone's trying to defend themselves, and
Yes.
so I would look pretty stupid if I did.
Yeah. So, Crossroads is gonna go +1 here. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, it looks like Smyrna manages to survive in Athens by killing whoever was in Athens before?
No. Athens is Mersin.
Oh, okay, yes, they are still alive. And actually, Mersin takes Izmir, so Izmir dies. That can't be arranged.
No, because Izmir has a dot in northern Russia.
What? Oh, yes, actually, they get 2.
And then they get their second, so they stay up. Yep, nope.
Okay.
GTFO doesn't kill its members unless they stab.
Yes.
Stabbers must stab.
Such as Denizli up here, who actually does survive with Denizli.
Yes,
still.
and I was so tilted about this because the way that this played out, we have Konya not getting a second dominated Partridge going back to 4, and it's just like, ugh, okay, whatever. At least Konya isn't dead, but
yeah,
whatever.
Oh my god, Nile gets back into Nile again. Okay then. At least this one looks like it was with agreement from the rest of GTFO, given there was a support on that.
It was with at least agreement from somebody. I don't know. I didn't pay any attention.
Very
I
funny.
did not care what was going on in Nile. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side. That's fair enough. But yes, so Partridge manages to go up a dot here. Konya is on 1, surviving in Lighthouse. I assume this is an arranged bounce here.
Yeah, to stop the retreat from Denizli.
Yes. Oh, and Crescent loses Warsaw to Omsk, so Omsk doesn't lose a center, even though they're wasting this move, right?
And Samson gets the fleet from the Bay of Suomi, of Sumoi into Inward Ocean. And Inward Ocean is such an important place for the rest of this game, right? It borders so many dots.
Yes.
Right? It borders, I think, 6 dots, right? Because it also borders Devil's Petersburg.
Yep.
And it's just like, this bottleneck is such a choke point, but having the fleet in Inward Ocean makes life huge, because now we can start really threatening Bugas and Timmy, and we already took Crescent, so yeah, Bugas should be ours. Let's go.
Yep. But yeah.
GTFO makes progress. Like, we're doing stuff, right? We're going places now.
Yeah, I really don't like seeing GTFO getting into Inward Ocean, especially considering there is
Why do
also
you care?
GTFO in Crescent.
You're in Wiener Neustadt, and your enemy's in Timmy, right? Like, isn't this good for you?
Well, yeah, but if you actually get in here, then you'll just run over me next.
But, like, there's someone who's currently trying to attack you, right? And so at least we're better than the one who's actively, like, that army in Timmy is guaranteed your enemy. Our army that gets in Timmy might be your enemy.
Yeah, but that might is a very strong, like, might.
Well, maybe don't take Timmy with an army. Make sure we only take Timmy with a fleet.
Yes, and you really think you'll agree to that? You are actively attacking a Spiral member in Crescent, right? and so you're gonna go in here as well, and then I'm like,
I don't, Crescent isn't really a Spiral member.
well, they were officially a Spiral member.
Yeah, officially, but like, who cares about what officially a member is? No one likes them. They've been annoying. They've stabbed all of their allies, and they've talked a lot of shit.
They
And
didn't
like,
stab all their allies. What are you talking about?
they definitely stabbed their allies, right? They stabbed Bugas, right?
Yes, but that was when our first
And then
crumbled, so...
they stabbed their ally there, and then the whole like Ufa and then Warsaw, right? Like they were working with Russia, and they stabbed them too. Point is, Crescent stabbed everyone. Nobody liked Crescent, and
that is not true. I liked Crescent.
yeah, it's
She was
absolutely true. You only like Crescent because Crescent you viewed them as a buffer from us. You didn't like Crescent as a person.
great.
You
I
were
liked
just like,
Crescent.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, you'll see when we go further along in this game that I do actually try. Well, I will not give any spoilers because we've had a hard time from the comments about the spoilers we've been giving in some of these. But yeah. So yes, Crescent is currently being attacked by GTFO. I don't like the fact
But
that
not
GTFO is
Spiral,
coming in.
because Crescent is separate from Spiral.
I disagree.
Well, a good thing you only have one dot, so we don't have to care what you think.
Okay.
You know who I do care about? I care about Varna, and I care about Saint Polson. And the two of them are totally fine with GTFO attacking Crescent.
So, you will note what else is happening up here. Dornburn starts moving back towards the rift. They're planning to go through and help Klagenfurt on the other side now that this has basically been cleared up as much as it can be. I was kind of hoping they'd stick around and we could work together, because I don't love the fact that Sankt Polten is the player with the armies near me. They were never hugely friendly to me, and even when I switched to join their alliance, they didn't enter the moves that would save me, right? But there's not much I can do about it, so Dornburn just walks back. And now I'm left to work just with Sankt Polten, but thankfully Krag is going down to 1 dot here. They only have Timisoara, so we should be okay. That is basically the whole thing on this side. There's not really that much else going on with me right now. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about here?
We should give a look at Fire in France and look at the chaos that's going on over there, where Fire is just like slowly marching in, getting stuff.
Yeah, so they get Armada by the look of it. They get Valencia as well, because this is a fire unit. I'm not sure. I don't think these were fire units, but Seville gets killed by Milan.
Seville was. Were they not in fire?
Is that Milan or Genoa? It's really hard to tell.
I think that's Genoa.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Milan. I'm pretty sure Fire doesn't have anyone get to 3.
So, yes, they go in and take Seville here. This player dies, who I think was a French player initially. This is Bordeaux. They lost Bordeaux to Fire. Then they lose Lille to Le Mans, or whoever this is. But they managed to take Squaris at the same time with Reims' help. So they are still alive and kicking right now, even though they're just on 1 dot.
I'm still breathing.
Yeah, and there's stuff going on up here that we don't really know much about. Denmark's doing quite well, right? They have managed to walk into East Munich here. And Klagenfurt takes Salzburg successfully. And their ally in Belgrade, who switched to them, actually gets to 2 dots off of it. So maybe it was a good decision on their part to flip. Yeah. So I think that's about everything here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A relatively calm year for me.
Yes, indeed. All right, and then we will go to the winter here, and I think this is where we'll finish, as long as you're good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, good time to stop.
Do you want to talk about builds at all, or not?
I don't have any builds, so what I care about.
I'm not actually sure that there... Yeah, there weren't any builds that were massively relevant to me either. These units came off in Symphony and Finn. And Symphony coming off is important. But that...
Relevant builds for me, Crossroads builds a fleet. army in St. Polten, that one is relevant for me, because that's going to put pressure on Varna.
Yeah. Notably, Varna is the ally of St. Polten, so shouldn't...
Yeah.
But yes, Varna doesn't have
yeah.
any armies, so they can't really
But
control
that
this.
army in St. Polten, not in Wellis?
Yeah, I
Right?
think the idea was for it to come through here or something. I don't really remember.
No.
Nope.
Varna was not okay using any of their provinces as, like, spring moves. Varna was not okay with that. No, that army in St. Polten is a, like, big question mark. What are they gonna do next?
And that's a great place to leave it. Thank you very much for watching this episode. We will be back next time with more 7 Days of Chaos. See you then.